Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rewind, episode number 24 for Tuesday, July 1st, 2025. My name is Marty Sleeve, and I am joined by Darren Mooney, Jack Packard, and producer Eric. We have an excellent show for you today. Most of the times it's a bad show, but this one's excellent. We got new trailers we're going to be talking about for The Running Man and Project Hail Mary. We're going to be chatting about the news that Denis Villeneuve is directing the upcoming James Bond movie for Amazon. And also, we all spent some time in the zombie mines in 28 days / weeks / years later. So we're going to chat about that as well. And other stuff we've been watching. That's it.
Hooray.
That's what we're going to do.
We did it.
It's going to be easy. It's going to be a tight 45-minute show. Definitely won't go 2 hours. Perfectly normal. How are you guys doing?
Oh, good. Do we want to start with trailers? I feel like that's an easy toe dip.
Yeah, and that just kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Unless we could start with complaining about commercials.
We should have the full movie experience. We spend 45 minutes talking about commercials. Then we spend like 10 minutes on trailers.
Have put out a press release, just warning people that they are adding more commercials before their movies. Before I watched 28 Years Later last night at our local Marcus cinema chains, and I had my watch timer going. 28 minutes of trailers and advertisements before the movie started. Ridiculous.
I'm fine with the trailers portion of that. You can show me an hour and 20 minutes of trailers and I'll be fine. But it's when it's just like ads for a car.
Even trailers. You know what? I paid money to see a movie. I'm happy to know what's coming up next. I love trailers. Gets me in the mood. But once we start hitting trailer number 5, this one was a weird experience where we got 3 trailers, 2 advertisements, and then a 4th trailer, and then another advertisement. Yeah,
that's a sneaky trailer.
Yeah, they pay. It is actually more. It costs more to get it close to the movie because the assumption is people are going to see the movie. The trailer that is closest to the movie.
Yeah.
Sure. So there'll always be like a little sneaky one at the end from like a big tier company where it'd be like McDonald's will get like a 30-second slot in right before, at least in Ireland, right before the movie starts. Whereas Dave's used car parks, they're warming up the crowd from the start.
Anyone here yet? Anyone here weirdly early?
And by the way, I do like that. They usually do have before the trailers start, just general stuff on the screen, and we'll have local advertisements that are produced in-house at the movie theaters, and you go, you guys are adorable.
Yeah,
they're an adorable little film production company.
This is shoddy.
Or Mikey's Puppy World or whatever. Absolutely.
I love Mikey's Puppy World.
Again, during the pandemic, there was the period where because they bought all the advertising space and it's by agencies, the agencies would put up advertisements themselves to fill space they hadn't sold in the pandemic era, and it would be you said, it would be like, we can even make your own ad. And I'm watching it going, I don't know that this is selling me on that as a promise.
What do I need an ad for?
Yeah.
I am but a man. I am not even
Mr.
a running
McDonald
man.
in the back row going, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's what's missing from my life. I don't have an ad. That's why my kids hate me. They'll love me if I get an ad. But yeah, there were actually 2 ads for upcoming movies that piqued my interest over the past few days. The first of which is for The Running Man, the second adaptation of the Stephen King book. This is coming out November 7th from director Edgar Wright and starring Glenn Powell.
Yeah.
Wanted to see what you guys thought of the trailer and if you had any prior history with either the Stephen King story or the original version of the movie with Arnold.
Oh, yeah.
Batman,
Arnold.
isn't it?
Say again?
Is the first one a Bachman novel? Because isn't the thing where was it a Stephen King novel or was it a Bachman? Remember? Yeah.
It was originally, I believe it was originally a Bachman novel before someone who worked at a used bookstore blew up his spot. It's that's just you. You're just lying to us all.
By the way, what a flex it is to be I'm not content to be the biggest selling author in America. I want to see if I can do it twice.
Can I do it twice? Yeah.
And the answer is mostly yes.
Yeah, that's great.
It's pretty
that's
impressive.
great. Here's I have a lot of love for the Arnold Running Man movie. Obviously, it's very that corny Arnold actiony, very video gamey movie in a time before kind of video games were the mainstream. They had different levels, different bosses. Very fun movie. I don't know if this is going to be a hot take or not, or if this is the general consensus. I just do not know. I think Edgar Wright is a phenomenal director and a really bad storyteller. I've always enjoyed the direction of his movies, but never much cared for how the story and how the story was told or how the characters developed. And that is my hot Edgar Wright take. But here we have a really schlocky action movie where character development isn't going to be much, and we just get to worry about fun action set pieces. So I'm very okay with this movie.
There you go, Darren. What'd you think?
I think I'm more interested in this as a Powell vehicle than as an Edgar Wright movie. Where I love Wright stuff. Wright's, when he makes great movies, they're wonderful. I think even like Last Night in Soho, which is a movie that a lot of people didn't like, I was very fond of because, as Jack said, an incredible visual stylist, an incredible visual storyteller, not necessarily like the tightest screenwriter when he's not working with his collaborators Simon Pegg and Nick Frost and stuff. I'm like watching this and I'm like, this is such a bizarre pivot for Glenn Powell wannabe movie star, particularly like with the footage that is playing in the corner of the screen there where he raises his middle finger to the camera and shouts, "Stop filming me." But like Powell is just so interesting because like you look at him and you think this guy should be a movie star. He's the most classically handsome man. It's like you grew him in a jar from like scrapings of like Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt and like Steve McQueen, and you ended up with Glenn Powell, somehow purer than any of the examples you've given to that point. And he could be doing he could just be coasting. He could just be doing franchise spin-off superhero movies. He could be doing a Fast and Furious guest spot or whatever. But instead, it seems like he's genuinely picking interesting projects. He's doing that really stupid Chad Powers TV show for Hulu, which seems like the kind of thing that you would try to wriggle out of the moment that you became a movie star. And say, like, no, I'm even further in. There was the Deadline story about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise rights going up for grabs, and he's in the bidding war along with Taylor Sheridan. And it's like, that is
so bad.
Yeah, I really do. You can see it already where Dennis Quaid is the sheriff who has to deal with environmentalists who are protesting a wind farm because that's how crazy the world is right now. That they're rezoning that happens to be the Sawyer farm or whatever. Tell me you wouldn't shoot in for a Taylor Sheridan Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But Powell is apparently is he A24? Is he Neon? But he is all over that. And it does feel like he's doing things that genuinely interest him, and doing a Running Man remake from Edgar Wright is not advice that I imagine any agent in Hollywood is giving their hot young actor coming off, where it's look, we got several offers on the table. You could do the new Star Wars because they offered him Starfighter. You could do a new Marvel because they had to have offered him a Marvel, and it's or you could do this Edgar Wright remake of a 1980s movie that nobody remembers, written by Stephen King under a different name. And it's yeah, that's the one that I want. And it looks fun. It looks silly. And I think it's in the sweet spot for remakes where, I, like Jack, quite enjoy the 1980s Running Man. I do not think it is a classic. I think it's in that space of Schwarzenegger movies where it is not a classic. It is not like a Terminator or a Predator. It's not even a Conan the Barbarian. So it is not sacrosanct in the way that many of these 80s nostalgic revivals are, where I imagine we'll get a nod or two to the Arnie one, but I can also see this being its entirely own thing, watched by people who have no idea this was a movie before. And that for me is kind of the ideal space for a remake like this, which is take a second shot at something that maybe didn't work perfectly the first time around.
That's theoretically the point of a remake is with a little more budget, with a flashier director, now our special effects technology has grown. We can really make this more fun, still hopefully a reasonable budget, because we don't want to explode that too much. I think the Running Man to me always exists as the opposite side of the coin of a RoboCop, right? Where it's on the surface we have two schlocky action movies. Obviously RoboCop is very, very different once you go further than surface level, but Running Man, there is nothing below surface level, so it's okay to remake.
Yeah, I mean, Coleman Domingo looks like he's having fun there. I'm just literally watching the trailer in the corner of the screen. Coleman Domingo doing Samuel Jackson from the RoboCop remake is what I want. Yeah,
yeah. I think he's playing the Richard Dawson role from the original movie. But yeah, Josh Brolin
for $1.
Yeah, Lee Pace, William H. Macy, Michael Cera. It looks fun.
Michael Cera,
yeah, coming back after Scott Pilgrim. No,
the Venetian Scheme. He was in the Venetian Scheme.
That's right. Yeah. Looks
he's coming back.
Summer of Sarah? Could be
It's
Summer of Sarah.
maybe the Summer of Sarah. Yeah.
Yeah, movie looks fun.
Releasing November 7th.
November 7th, yeah, actually coming relatively soon. Summer of Sarah, November
Yeah,
as Southern Hemisphere Summer of Sarah. But yeah, this looks fun. Definitely gonna check this one out. And then the other trailer was for a little further out, Project Hail Mary. This is coming March 20th next year, directed by Lord and Miller of the Lego Movie / Spider-Verse / couple shots in Solo. You might be able to spot them. Moments of Solo, starring Ryan
mostly
Gosling.
wides.
Mostly wide shots.
Bottle
yeah.
Wide shot. This is based on the novel by Andy Weir, who wrote the book The Martian as well. This is Ryan Gosling is a dude who gets like a science teacher who gets sent to space because all the suns have a virus. I didn't know a sun could get a virus, which let's just add that to the things I'm now worried about. It's like, oh my God, is the sun sick? Was that what Sunshine was about? Danny Boyle's like, the sun is sick. It has a stomach ache. We need to put a nuke in it.
I was about to say, the vibes are very much we have sunshine at home.
Sunshine, but I think less like sad. This looks like a slightly more hopeful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't imagine like half the cast are going to end up frozen to death or murdered by Mark Strong. Yeah.
I was about to say it's not going to turn into a slasher movie for the last third where it's like, wasn't expecting this.
It's Lord and Miller. You never know.
It could. The alien looks nice in this movie, I will say. The alien seems nice that he's communicating with. Yeah, Darren, what did you think of this trailer?
I think we talked a little bit about this before it went on air, but the moment where like from the writer of The Martian appears on screen is the most superfluous credit you have ever needed because it is very much in the zone of like, just so you know, we've got like this story of a person going into space by themselves. We've got a 1970s soundtrack on it, a movie star that you like, a reliable director or pair of directors.
Mm-hmm.
It is very, very, very much kind of Martian code. And as somebody who really liked The Martian, I'm like, yeah, I'm on board with this. This looks fun. It does look like Gosling is kind of in his, part of me kind of misses like so serious and dour Gosling from the early 2010s, the kind of the gritty, like I got very tired of it at the time, but I kind of, part of me misses like gritty, serious, I'm a real actor, damn it, Ryan Gosling from the early like 2010s. But we are in solid like Ken goofball mode here, which is fun. I like that too. I'm curious about this, but yeah, it does feel weird coming out of like 28 years later, the reteaming of like Garland and Boyle, where Garland and Boyle have both been like, yeah, we had ideas for like 3 more Sunshine movies where we were going to go like Jupiter and stuff, and it's like kind of feel like, yeah, this is Lord and Miller do Sunshine, which I'm sure will be fun, but probably going to be a movie that we all like and then never talk about in 10 years time.
Very possible. Very possible. Like this, for me, this movie checks all of my boxes. We got an unprepared hero. We have blue collar space exploration, and we have Ryan Gosling. I genuinely enjoy Ryan Gosling.
And I've heard I own the book, and I'm planning to actually read it next week while I'm on vacation because I've heard it's a very good like summer read, and everyone I know who's read it has said it's really good. And so there you go. Yeah, so that seems like, and this seems like kind of in that early spring slot, almost like the Sinners slot, where it's like this could be like a kind of a kick, like a pre-summer kickstart.
Yeah.
And we're relying on word of mouth as well. Like that's the thing in that space is like if word of mouth is good, it will run through the summer. Like so that means that means we think it's actually good, as opposed to just something we're going to saturate the marketing with. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And this is their first. God, is this their first live action movie since 21 Jump Street or 20? Did they do the second one as well?
I mean, you're forgetting the like 5% of Solo that they directed, but yeah,
I am sorry, I'm forgetting. Yeah, just when we learn how he got those dice, because everyone needed to learn how he got those dice.
Isn't that dice scene is all based on a deleted scene from Abrams, like The Force Awakens as well, right? Yeah. It's all based on a scene that he put in The Force Awakens that like Johnson explains in The Last Jedi or references to The Last Jedi, and they explain in Solo, and then Abrams was like, no, by the way, just cut it. There was no space for it in the movie.
People are gonna fucking love when they learn where these dice came from. Yeah, very dumb. Yeah, both these movies look pretty good though.
It's very dumb.
Every once in a while I think about a lot of Star Wars stuff and I'm like, man, a lot of Star Wars is very dumb.
It's just very dumb.
I don't know. I think like betting that hard on it was rather risky. I think it was quite dicey. But I'm
I
really
was gonna try
glad
to
that
make an
the
Andrew
other
Dice Clay joke.
directors rolled with it. Okay, fine. All
I
right.
got you there. Do we want to talk about Denny? Do we want to talk about our favorite French Canadians?
Oh, sure. We don't have a trailer here, but we do have news.
Yes. Amazon, who recently acquired MGM and Amazon recently acquired the rights to the Bond property from the Broccoli family and Ion. We know that a new Bond is in the works. We don't know who is James Bond yet, but we know who will be shooting the movie, and that is Denis Villeneuve. I'm assuming shooting this after Dune 3.
Yeah, well, Dune 3 is still scheduled for next Christmas, right? Theoretically?
I mean, it's been in that cast. They said like Robert Pattinson's in the movie. You can't put Robert Pattinson in a movie and not shoot it. What is this, the Batman 2?
I was about to say, I mean, the Batman 2 is waiting on him as we speak.
Darren, you're obviously a big Dune head, and I think just a big Villeneuve fan, top to bottom. What did you think of this news?
I think it's great. Like, generally speaking, it's one of those things where like a good director makes a movie is a good thing. Giving a good director the freedom to make a good movie is a good thing. And being honest, this does feel a little bit like it is laser guided at me, cynic that I am, who was like, I'm really cynical about like Amazon buying Bond. They're just gonna turn it into a franchise that they milk incessantly in the 10 years before he enters public domain. And that is probably true. But I do like that they were like, well, this will shut him up, and hired like Denis Villeneuve to direct the movie. And I kind of have to go, good call. Like that is there is a solid argument. I don't even think it's a solid argument. I think there's a convincing argument to be made. He is the moment he sets foot on set, he's the best director to have worked on a Bond movie. With all due respect to Sam Mendes, I like Sam Mendes is the closest point of comparison, and I don't know that Denis Villeneuve has ever made anything like American Beauty, if we're being entirely honest. But yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it.
We didn't know at the time. We didn't know. No, it was still pretty creepy at the time, actually. Still pretty
nominated for like Best Picture, regarded as one of the best movies of the century, currently sitting on the IMDb 250, generally regarded as a masterpiece. Kevin Spacey, regarded as one of the greatest actors of his generation, convincingly playing a creep. Everyone's like, how did he find that depth inside himself? How did he look so far inside himself and find that darkness and bring it out? How did we know? Thank you, Eric. I really appreciate you backing me up on this point.
Is that a real photo? It looks like a Madame Trousseau's wax sculpture.
But sorry, we weren't talking about Denis Villeneuve's Bond. Very excited about it. I mean, there is the flip side of like he doesn't have final cut on the movie because no director has final cut. Although interestingly, apparently they offered it to Nolan with final cut and it didn't work out for whatever reason. But Villeneuve doesn't have final cut. Amazon, that was apparently the rumor that went round. I believe it was Justin Kroll at Deadline who kind of gave that bit of information. They had approached Nolan. They had said, you will get final cut on this if you want, because Nolan doesn't work without final cut. Villeneuve obviously generally has final cut at this stage of his career, but he gave it up for this. Kroll from Deadline also said that like the casting of Bond will not be a Villeneuve decision. It will be an Amazon decision, which will be very, very interesting. But I'm very curious like what this is going to look like. My general thing is I trust like Villeneuve. Villeneuve is a guy who is very good at doing this stuff. He had this hugely creative period of his career where he did stuff like Polytechnic, for example. But then he's quickly become a guy who's very good at adaptation. Arrival, Blade Runner, the Dune movies. Bond seems like a logical fit within that. I don't feel like we're missing anything from Villeneuve by him doing this if he wants to do this. It's not like I feel like we're going to miss out on his, Apocalypse Now or Godfather or whatever if he makes like a really good Bond movie. So yeah, generally really happy. Good director makes Bond movie. Darren happy.
Yeah, and I think he's not writing this, is he? Because he also hasn't like written. I guess he co-wrote, some of Dune, but he didn't write like Arrival or Sicario was Taylor Sheridan. I don't think he wrote Enemies or Prisoners or anything. So I'll
Taylor
be curious
Sheridan's
to see.
Bond movie is a pitch.
I was gotta get those windmills. The windmills are coming down.
Dennis Quaid is Felix Leiter, who's also concerned about zoning of windmills.
Jack, what did you think about this?
Okay, I don't care about James Bond as a character. That is something like I've seen all the movies and generally have a good time. There are people who like love, like capital L love James Bond, and I do not get it. I do not understand.
Oh wow. Yeah,
The love.
I capital love James Bond.
Yeah, I genuinely, I'm just like, this is just sexy spy man. There are so many
nailed it.
better versions of this
nailed it.
thing.
Oh.
Like there.
I don't get it. He's sexy spy man. That's all there is to get.
Yeah.
You think you got it. You're just not interested in it.
Yeah.
I'm just not interested. That's fair. And so, like, I have not seen the last handful of Bond films just because I genuinely do not care. Villeneuve as a director, I love. I will see this one just because I love him as a director. The fact that he doesn't get final cut, and like, sure, but I trust him to shoot. Well, the fact that he doesn't get casting, again, I have seen him work with actors whom I have not liked in the past. I don't like Timothée Chalamet as an actor, and you know what? I liked Dune, both Dune. So hell, give him whoever. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've liked literally everything Villeneuve's done.
Yes,
I like
100%.
Blade Runner 2049. I like Arrival. I like Sicario, Prisoners, Incendie. Like, I think it's great. Yeah, I'm excited for this. In terms of like, who do I want to like? What big budget filmmaker do I want them to give $250 million to make this movie? It was like, yeah, probably outside of Nolan, it's him. He's probably 1A or 1B. Yeah.
Yeah, like it is like it's the best possible choice they could have made, to be entirely honest. And it's incredible. I mean, like, my big surprise isn't that they offered it to him. My big surprise is he accepted it. I know he's on record saying he would love to do a Bond movie, but it's wild that it's like Amazon are like, yeah, come make a Bond movie with us, and it's like, yeah, sure, I'll sign on, because it does. If he doesn't have final cut, like, are we still gonna get the Bond saturation I feel we're gonna get? Like, are we still going to get the streaming shows, the spin-offs, etc., as Amazon try to recuperate the absurd amount of money that they paid to buy this from the Broccolis before those early Ian Fleming like novels enter the public domain and it becomes a free-for-all?
Mm-hmm. Is that actually happening? I didn't realize that was happening in like 10 years.
It is. It's 10 years is when the first ones. Now, keep in mind that, like, obviously the books are very different from the movies, so you don't have Q, for example, but you still have, like, the tuxedo, the poshness, the background, the fact that he's Scottish, etc. All that stuff is folded in, or he's got Scottish ancestry. All that stuff is folded in with the book characters, which is interesting. I guess from Amazon's point of view, they're probably looking at, like, the franchise famously fractured once before over Thunderball, where the rights to Thunderball ended up in two different places, and they obviously made Never Say Never Again, the Sean Connery movie, and that gave, I believe, MGM at the time, or whoever it was, the chance to make their own separate Bond franchise spinning off from elements of Thunderball. They couldn't use anything from the regular Bond franchise, only stuff from Thunderball, and nothing happened. It never materialized. It never became like a credible threat to the mainline Bond franchise. So maybe Amazon are like, even if it enters public domain, like, we're not scared of like James Bond Blood and Honey, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think like it's one of those things where if they swing, okay, this is a terrible metaphor, but I've started it, so I'm going to finish. If they swing good enough, this is a terrible metaphor. If they make such a good product out of James Bond, anyone who makes a rinky-dink James Bond cannot compete with that. So you hire a Denis Villeneuve, you put a bunch of money on it, and now you have capital letters James Bond, and everyone makes their lowercase James Bond. And then they get a few more, like another 5 years to kind of float on those rights until a larger studio puts money into it.
And that's always been Bond's thing, or at least it's been Bond's thing since the explosion of American spy movies after Bourne, is that like Bond is the prestige version of this. Bond is the black label version of this, where he can do all the stuff that Bourne can do, but you know who he is. He wears a tuxedo and he has a British accent and therefore is inherently classier. Which is like not a bad approach to take the franchise. I know that like fans of the Bond franchise are like, but they no longer do the slide whistles, or like, where's that weird hick sheriff who used to show up in the Roger Moore movies? But like the Bond franchise in recent years with Craig in the role has like done a lot to distinguish itself from its competitors by being, as you say, the top shelf version of what it is, where it's like you can go and you can watch a dozen spy movies. You can go to Amazon and you can watch like Jack Reacher, The Terminal List, like you go Jack Ryan. You can see all the knockoff Bonds.
Yeah.
But Amazon, clearly, to your point, do genuinely believe that Bond is something special and prestigious, even within a framework of stuff they already own. It's like that. Was it the Lord of the Rings Wheel of Time stuff, where Amazon buy Wheel of Time and they're like, wait, we could have just bought Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I guess we'll buy both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have no sort of window for when they're expecting this movie. I imagine still 3-4 years out, given that we don't have a Bond yet, and he wouldn't shoot it until late next year, probably at the earliest.
Right.
Shoot both Dune Messiah and Bond side by side. It's like, why is Bond spending so much time in the desert in this one?
Well, we got
Weird.
Zendaya as the Bond girl, easy. We got Chalamet as Bond. We'll just take off those
Javier
snowsuits.
Bardem. Yeah, bring back Javier
Yeah, that
Bardem.
sounds great. Yeah.
Honestly, I like
that
that.
could absolutely work. So yeah, we'll have more on Bond. I was going to say down the road, but I don't know. We might be dead by the time this movie comes out, so there's no way of knowing. There's no way of knowing. Do you think we'll get a new
Probably
Austin
have, like,
Powers?
the
Do you think this will get us the Austin Powers Legacy sequel that I've been wanting for a long time?
I suspect that's dependent on the success of The Naked Gun and Spaceballs. I suspect those are the two things that are more likely to get you Austin
I would be
Powers.
so happy. I would be so
because
legitimately happy.
Like, if those two projects succeed and a Bond movie's on the horizon, Austin Powers Legacy sequel is like guaranteed. It's like on the cards.
And
like
Amazon,
money.
Amazon will also pay for that too, so they can have the franchise movie and the satire of the franchise movie. Oh my god!
Into the Bondverse. Put Austin Powers in there. It's fine. Fine.
Say, like, that's
there. Whatever. They're all the same.
That's what you're building towards. That's your 5-year plan, where it's like,
Yeah.
and like they're all the JBs are gonna meet up. They're gonna buy Jack Bauer as well, like Jack Bauer and James Bond and
Or they'll
Jack
buy
Ryan and
they'll
like
buy the AI
Jack
rights
Reacher.
to Roger Moore and to Timothy Dalton, and it'll just be the saddest dystopian movie ever made.
I was going to say before and I know this is ironic given Villeneuve did use like CGI to bring back young Sean Young in Blade Runner,
Sure.
but part of me is like, before Villeneuve showed up, I was like, what are the odds of getting a CGI Sean Connery cameo in this upcoming Bond movie, where they try to explain the logic of Bond as a legacy that's passed down from one generation to the next. Where they try to like Ghostbusters Afterlife, the Bond franchise.
Oh my God, don't say those things. Don't even bring that into the world. Why are you bringing that energy into the world? Leave it over there on the side.
Right.
Okay, before we chat about 28 several units of time later, we got some super chats. We can go through some of those before we kick off. Right off the bat, Quintuple with $10 dono. Thank you so much, Quintuple. Darren, I watched a playthrough of a game you, quote, recommended. Steven Spielberg's The Director's Chair. Not sure there's much game to it, but I'm honestly just glad it exists. When did you talk about that? Because I remember I owned this. Did
you own this? Did you actually play
experience as a kid? Yeah. I had this as a kid. This was kind of like in the same. There was like a Bond, quote unquote, experience that was similar to this, and there was a Simpsons like virtual Springfield that was similar to this, and I loved it. Yeah.
And a Simpsons episode maker, which I used to have as well, where you could make your own episodes of Simpsons using like animation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the director's chair, which Eric is playing down the corner there, is like Steven Spielberg dipping his toe into video games before he did. Was it Medal of Honor? I think was it called? I think it was Call of Duty or Medal of Honor. Medal of Honor was the big Spielberg video game. Yeah,
I think
coming
you're
off like
thinking of
Saving Private Ryan.
the Wii U exclusive Boom Blocks.
That was a Wii exclusive, and it's right here, and it was great.
Wow,
Boom
there's the Boom Blocks box.
Boom Blocks.
The Boom Blocks blocks. But yeah, this thing was great. It was like an educational tool of like learning all the steps of making a movie.
Yeah, and like it's based around you are a director who's been hand chosen by Steven Spielberg to make a movie, which is like the most incredible thing in your life. It's like, okay, who's my leading lady? And like Jennifer Aniston. You're like, okay, it's the late 90s. It's all popping. I see hundreds of millions of dollars in my future. Okay, who's my leading man? Quentin Tarantino. It's like Quentin Tarantino is your leading man, as you can see in the corner of the screen there. A man wrongly accused of murdering, is it his mother or just an elderly lady who is on death row? And this is basically a movie about trying to get him off death row. It's an interesting. It is, as you say, very educational, where you are meeting, like, if I remember correctly, you're meeting like the writers, you're meeting the costume designers, you're meeting the advertiser or the marketing people, and you get to choose every aspect of the movie's production to try and guarantee turn it into a success in a movie that you're proud of. It doesn't really exist anymore, but there is an online playthrough of it. I'll see if I can dig it out while somebody else is talking and share it in the chat. Fascinating artifact.
Yeah.
The most 90s thing that ever existed in many ways.
It is wonderful. We need more things like this. More like edutainment in this vein. Instead of Mr. Beast being like, here's how to make AI thumbnails, just click a button. Yeah. Assistant Goose. I really like the name Assistant Goose, if I'm going to be honest. With a 20-pound dono, thank you, Assistant Goose. It's rewind time. Take some of my money, gentlemen. You have made the day you have made us all richer this day. Look at that.
Wow.
We might be poor in real life, but we're rich in experiences. So there you go. Tommy, Salty 10 Polish Złoty. Great question. Did you ask Darren about his first handy? Did you know there's a slang term, I believe, in Germany for cell phones that's just called a handy?
It's a phone in your hand.
Yeah, it's a handy. Yeah. But I feel like for a lot of the world, the term handy is like a different slang term. And so it could be like a sticky wicket.
Well, if you're doing it properly, yeah.
Well,
I mean... But I saw that question go by, and I was like, there has to be some context for this, right?
There is, yeah. I feel like I'm stuck in a time loop because this was yesterday on a stream with Jack and Eric. Like, what is happening?
In Ireland, we call them mobiles.
Yeah, there's nothing weird and creepy about that. Handy, yeah. There you go.
Keeping it handy.
Making it handy. Pure Pyro with a €2 dono. Thank you so much, Pure Pyro. What do you think about Maggie 2015?
That's the Arnold Schwarzenegger zombie movie starring Abigail Breslin, if I'm getting my Maggie right.
That doesn't sound real. That sounds like a movie
yes.
you made in Steven Spielberg's movie maker. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah, where she's bitten by a zombie and he has to care for her as she kind of turns. It's like a really it's a movie that I kind of like with Arnold Schwarzenegger at its center, which is not, and it for me it doesn't entirely work, but I admire the big swing of it. I think Schwarzenegger is really great in it, and it's kind of, I wish that there were more Schwarzenegger movies like this where he is clearly pushing himself in terms of like what he's doing on screen. I don't know that it works because I don't know that Schwarzenegger is that kind of performer. Sure. But it's like it's a big swing from him. I like the performance. I wish we'd gotten more stuff like it, and it's not a bad movie, but it's not as good as kind of like the pitch of Arnold Schwarzenegger cares for Abigail Breslin as she turns into a zombie should be. Like that should be a home run premise of a movie.
Yeah.
And it's just a kind of a good, I liked it. I didn't love it kind of movie.
Yeah. It's funny. I clicked the wiki because I don't know how I completely missed this movie. The directorial debut of a man named Henry Hobson. And when I looked up what Henry Hobson did, he had a long history of making title cards for movies. So like when a movie has like a cool title card drop, he did the title cards for the video game The Last of Us. So there you go. He made those title cards. He's like, fuck it, I'll just make a movie out of this. I'll make my own version.
When was The Last of Us released, the first video game?
2013.
Oh fuck!
He went right from doing that to being like, "Hey guys, I got an idea for a movie. Just don't play that game I worked on. It's fun."
2013, both The Last of Us came out and The Girl with All the Gifts came out. Like around that, both were kind of developed at the same time, and so it was just at that moment of like, small infected girl needs saving.
I think it was also 2012 was Telltale's The Walking Dead, which was Lee taking care of Clementine and like trying to get It's fine.
Feels like the reason we cast Schwarzenegger was because he was maybe the only person in the world who didn't know that this premise had already been done repeatedly.
Pendragon, thank you so much for re-upping in the tip jar 19 months. Appreciate you. To Pendragon. Nick Knoll with a $5 dono. Thank you, Nick. Do you think they'll have the balls to end The Running Man the same way the book ends? If I'm not mistaken, the book ends with Arnold taking Richard Dawson in a plane and crashing it into a skyscraper.
Yeah, he 9/11 basically.
I'm going to say no. I do not think this movie
probably can't get away with that.
Probably is worth noting. The new trailer does go out of its way to include cockpit footage. Like there's cockpit footage in the new trailer.
Oh yeah, I see that of like them like hitting the ceiling and everything.
Yeah. So it does feel like they're aware of that and teasing that. But to Jack's point, can you imagine Fox News the morning after that movie releases?
It's time to reclaim 9/11. That's what we need.
Here's the thing, though. Like that could be amazing Streisand effect. Like if Fox News is like, this movie is evil. Yeah, you just sold 100,000 more tickets.
Yeah, I mean, remember when that happened? What was it? The David Lindelof's The Hunt. They're like, this movie's evil. It's about hunting conservatives. And you see the movie, and you're like, that's not what the movie's about.
Right.
And this movie's kind of boring. Like, what is going on?
I mean, like, not to put too much of a spoiler on it, like the movie's point is that liberals are the true evil, which is so fascinating.
I'm like, this is the opposite. You guys got the opposite.
Yeah, it's like this movie hates liberals almost more than you guys do, and you hate them a lot. But like I will say, it does feel like we are inching closer and closer to like how much 9/11 can we put in a movie? Where like in the 2000s you had to be kind of careful. So when you blew up a skyscraper, you had to like blow it up with demolition in like Daredevil or in the Defenders or whatever. When you had a hole in the sky, you couldn't have a plane near it. It just had to be a hole through which like madness flies and Tony Stark suicide bombs himself or whatever. But you can't have planes. You can't have skyscrapers. You get to like this year with Thunderbolts, where it's like, no, we're just going to cover the entire southern half of Manhattan in a dark cloud as human beings disappear and silence falls. It does feel a little bit like the toe is going in the water.
Yeah.
But I don't imagine that The Running Man from Edgar Wright is going to be the movie that goes, okay, make room.
It's British. It's
Someone's
fine.
gonna kick the door down, Darren. It might as well be Edgar Wright.
Can break the ceiling. It'll be great. Zarthur,
Notorious
thank you so
provocateur Edgar Wright.
Hey, he was brave enough to cast Kevin Spacey in Baby Driver. For the allegations.
And Ansel Elgort.
And Ansel Elgort before the allegations.
Before the allegations.
Allegedly. Please don't
allegedly.
Zarthur, thank you so much for the dono. Mooney thinks he knows puns, but does he know what the world's fastest liquid is? It's milk. It's pasteurized before you notice.
It's past your eyes before you notice.
Nice.
I thought that was beautiful.
That's
is
great.
It was like
That's
a Zen
great.
Cohen. I don't
Milk
actually drink milk.
Milk can't actually run as fast as you think it can because it lacks toes.
I'm intolerant of all of this.
I just want to appreciate the brevity of that. They didn't milk it at all.
Peter Parker SL. $5 dono. Thank you so much, Peter Parker.
First of all,
are you saying this is an utter disgrace, Marty?
Yeah, Marty, how can you stop us? Darren, how dare he?
Go to bed. Go to bed. The dairy one was actually really good.
It was pretty good.
I like the dairy one. Peter Parker, thank you so much for a $5 donor. Of all the new releases coming out this month, if you can only see one in theaters, which one would you see? Obviously, a lot of the big July movies, at least in terms of blockbusters, we got Jurassic Park, Superman, Fantastic Four. I don't know what else is coming out this month. I had a list at some point.
Eddington is like the one that I'm actually like. The Ari Aster pandemic movie starring every person ever. Which
looks
feels
good.
like a movie that I'm going to see once and never again. So I figure I may as well see that in a theater. Like,
there you go.
If we're talking about big blockbusters, like, okay, so Jurassic, Fantastic, Supers, right? Like, if those are the big popcorn blockbusters, and you can only choose one, I'm going Superman. I'm very curious. I'm
I'm going Superman too, because it's the biggest question mark. I think I'm going to hate Jurassic Park. I think I will be fine with Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
I'm going to clearly love Happy Gilmore 2 on Netflix. But I'm just curious about what's going on with this Superman movie.
Yeah.
And I think Gunn is like the strongest of the directors there. I think like, of the marketing, it's the one that most interests me. It's the one that has like the clearest directorial footprint in that like Jurassic World and Fantastic Four were both famously rushed into theaters, whereas like Superman feels like it has actually been allowed to gestate and take its time getting there. My money, if I had to pick one, I would go Superman.
There you go.
Yeah.
Couple more. Sarag, thank you so much for a €5 dono. I've watched F1 the movie this weekend. Big the driver with 1,000 faces energy, yet it sort of works. How come tight shots of fast cars is enough?
It's not just tight shots of fast cars. It's also like cameras literally built into the cars. They can film like the cars driving and the road ahead of them. It is incredible. Like, it is the most meat and potatoes blockbuster experience you will ever have. It is your dad's favorite movie of the year. Like, there are no surprises in the movie whatsoever. Like, right to the point where you're like, oh, there's one woman in the primary cast. I wonder if she's going to be the love interest. Spoiler, she's the love interest. But it hits all of its marks and it looks stunning. Like it's a Joseph Kosinski, who I believe was an architect and an engineer before he became a filmmaker. And so it has that like incredible fascination with like people and machinery, which I just love about his films. And it just goes and it sounds incredible. If you see it in IMAX or even if you see it in Limax with a good sound system, it's incredible. I saw it again last night because they're clearing out the screens to make room for Jurassic World Rebirth, a movie I do not want to ever see again. But like,
Oh no!
I was like,
Dino
I
movie!
need. I You just said you thought it was gonna be shit, Marty. You
I'm
can't
pretty
act
sure it's
outrage. Yeah. It is better than I expected it to be. It
That's
is
good.
it's about in the middle of the pack of Jurassic Park sequels. I will never watch it again. Like that is where that movie ends up. Like just in a
Better, worse than
review.
Jurassic Park 3.
Slightly better. But I'm not a Jurassic Park 3 person. The question is it better or worse than Fallen Kingdom, the Nosferaptor movie? And the answer to that is it has higher lows and lower highs. Basically,
Okay.
yeah,
I like that.
It's more consistent, less impressive. But yeah, F1, I had a really great time with F1. Like it is just, again, not a movie I'm going to think about a lot. Not a movie I'm going to like obsessively watch. Not a movie I'm probably going to remember when I make my favorite movie of the year list. But it does what most blockbusters should do, which is give you a sense of space and scale. There's like there's so many incredible moments because obviously this is an Apple production and the rumor is it costs between 200 and 300 million dollars, and they famously shot at like real F1 races. So there are like moments where like you don't need this stuff and you could do all this stuff in CGI, but there are these shots of these cars driving around Daytona as fireworks go off in the background. You're like, that is all real. That is all being done in camera. There's a moment where like Tobias Mendes, aka the second Prince Philip from The Crown, like literally just picks up a drink, walks over to the edge of the balcony to contemplate like his failed coup to take over the company. And in the background, the fireworks are still going off and there are hundreds of thousands of people in the crowd because they shot this at a real F1 race. And I'm like, this is so excessive and like, this is how we used to make movies, and it is incredible, and I love it so much, you know? So I liked it a lot, even though it is not going to surprise or blow anybody's socks off.
I'm excited. There you go. Well, we could shift gears. We'll save the rest of the super chats for afterwards, but for something that I didn't mean to do that.
Sticking to formula.
I didn't want to do any of this. It was an accident. I don't approve of any of this.
We'll make a pit stop later.
Let's talk about 28 years later.
That was the triple.
Was that the later joke?
Yeah, no, it's also pit. Really it's also the pit because it's also like you
that was a three-way.
Yeah.
You can't keep getting away with this. 28 years later, big movie at the box office a few weeks ago. Darren, I feel like you've seen it multiple times. You have a new episode of The Backdrop about it. Jack, you went in. You went in a 28 newbie. You'd only seen 28 Days, starring Sandra Bullock. I'm assuming.
Exactly. So I knew 28 Days, but I didn't know anything about the amount of times later. So yeah, like, and by the way, 28 days later, what a treat! That's just my bad. Like I slept on it. I was a little like over zombied, and then I just continued to get pushed back and back in my back catalog. 28 days later, what an absolute treat.
Yeah, I was curious how that would hold up on a first time viewing because I rewatched it, and still really loved it. But I was like, how are people gonna like? Because it's weird looking. It is a weird. It
looks like it was shot on
movie.
A potato. Yes.
Yeah.
100%. It's like not only does it look like it's shot on a potato, the like score and the soundtrack is like clearly just the director's roommate, like in the other room playing guitar. Like it doesn't sound the greatest. Tonally, it's a little weird. You know, it starts off kind of deep and meditative and ends where Cillian Murphy is auditioning to be Batman. It's very, very like, but a wonderful, gorgeous movie that really says something and tries to do kind of like maximum minimalistness.
Did something very new with the zombie formula for 2002. This was long before The Walking Dead or anything.
And can I just say, long before The Walking Dead, also The Walking Dead. Are your lawyers aware? By the way.
They use the same budget-saving trick of like, what if our hero slept through the zombie apocalypse?
Like, I watched this with a buddy of mine who also had never seen them. He's not a horror fan in general, and both of us are like, wait a minute, how far before The Walking Dead did this come out? Because it is almost shot for shot that opening episode of The Walking Dead. But brilliant movie. I also like. I love the rage. I love the fact that, like eating isn't a huge part of the zombie because that always is where it gets a little gratuitous. Like they're like, no, they're just angry. They're beating the shit out of everybody. I love that. That's great.
We made a bunch of monkeys really mad. It is a very British zombie movie where it's like, can you imagine the end of the world? Well, what if we made a monkey so mad it destroyed England? Sorry, and I want to apologize to your mate and Yahtzee for that.
That was beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and also the PETA is the bad guy. Love that.
Clearly.
But like it is also kind of this like break from naivety, right? Cillian Murphy's character is just very naive, and as he grows throughout the movie, obviously they tried that with 28 Weeks Later as well, of making these kids very naive and grow with the movie. We're not going to spend much time on 28 Weeks Later because that is.
The opening scene is incredible though. Like for all the issues with that movie, the opening scene is stunning.
Oh, beautiful. No, and and I'll argue that there is a lot of good in 28 Weeks Later, just not the whole of 28 Weeks Later.
It's an American movie. Like, it's very much like an American take on the franchise, to the point where it's literally like, what if we just did an Iraq in London? It just feels so different from the tone, as you said, of like 28 Days Later and what is now 28 years later, where it feels more like Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, arguably, than it does 100%. Like 28 Days Later.
100%. And then, the logic starts to fall apart really fast on like what the zombies are able to do and how much intelligence they have. But it's fine. It's all fine. But it's all fine because there's some good scenes in there. I really enjoyed the general the idea that was never fully explored, but this idea of like the father who abandons his wife in order to save himself, and like the guilt and shame that he feels in that because he thinks he murdered his wife, even though the movie made it very clear, no, there was no saving the wife. Like the zombies were right in between them. But that doesn't. I like that idea. I like that thought of like
force majeure. It's like force majeure with zombies. Like
instead of the avalanche, just running away.
And by the way, like that really could have been an interesting movie. They did not follow up on that at all, but that really could have been an interesting movie. 28 years later, I have seen a lot of hate for this movie. A relative amount of people who dislike this movie, but also liked 28 Days Later. And I think those people might be big dummies because this is very similar to 28 Days Later. And oh boy, what a great movie 28 Years Later is.
Oh, I was worried. I didn't know what you thought about it. I was waiting the whole time, and I was going to wait for you to be like, and this third one is a piece of shit. And I was going to be like, Darren and I are going to have to fight you. Darren and I are going to have to fight.
It's no 28 Weeks Later.
Here's what I'll say. My floppy dong theory remains true.
Yes. This might have the floppiest of all dongs.
I mean, it does also look like it's barely floppy, to be fair. It looks like it's just one or two moments away from not being floppy.
No, like what we get here is like three really like wonderful, three acts, but each act is their own little zombie movie, each being wonderful in its own right and weird in its own right. It goes in directions that I was not expecting. Just a lovely picture.
Yeah, I completely agree. Darren, you wrote about it, and you and Jesse put together this week's backdrop on it. So what did you think of 28 Years Later?
If I can tee up Darren's movie a little bit.
Please.
After I watched the movie, I had some thoughts about the movie, and I hadn't watched Darren's video yet. All I knew was the title is This Is About Brexit. And as an American, I know very little about Brexit. But I walked out of that movie going, I think Darren's full of shit. Like, I love and respect Darren. I think you are one of the finest film critics I know of and have the pleasure of talking to. It's a treat every time. But for the first time in my life, I was like, Darren might be stretching a little bit. I better watch this video because I think he might be full of shit. I watch the video, of course. Duh, it makes so much sense.
To be fair, I will say I am backed up both by Danny Boyle saying it's about Brexit and Alex Garland, who is a man who's like, I don't know what politics you think you're reading into my movie about Civil War. It's not about America collapsing into. Civil War has nothing to do with American politics. Going, yeah. 28 years later is more about Brexit. It's just such a surreal. The press tour is so fantastic because you always have like Garland and Boyle together, and Boyle is so like fascinated and amazed by everything he sees, and Garland is like just counting down the seconds until he can go home. Where there's a video of them being interviewed by like a anime dog person, and like Garland is so clearly like, this, what is this? This isn't, I've never seen this before. And like Alex Garland is just sitting there, you can hear his inner monologue going, I have an Oscar nomination. I have an Oscar nomination. I have an Oscar nomination.
Wait, before we move forward, what is an anime dog person?
There's like it's an anime
like
persona.
a VTuber?
A VTuber, like who's interviewing them.
So being live interviewed by someone who has an anime persona.
Who's using like an anime persona, and they're like, does the rage virus affect dogs? And like Alex Garland having to like explain, because Boyle is like loving it. Boyle's like, I'm gonna let Alex answer that one, and Alex is like, well, I don't think you're a dog. And also, luckily, it does not affect dogs. And you're like, wow, you're no chill whatsoever. But yeah, both Boyle and Garland have kind of said it's about Brexit, so I did feel comfortable approaching it from that angle.
No,
but
and because of your video, being able to put those pieces together like right in front of me, it is like of course. And like I said, I'm an American, so I'm a little more distant from the Brexit, but it's like
Eric found the video. Eric found the video. Like, there it is. Look at Alex Garland. Like, just like, yep, let me get my water bottle and my cup of coffee. I'm not even going to make eye contact. Boyle is leaning in. Garland is just like, what are we doing here? It's incredible. Anyway,
I don't know if it's the same VTuber, but there is a VTuber who might be this lady who's in Death Stranding 2.
Oh.
If so, big month for this person.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an incredible movie. I love this so much. I didn't know what to know going into it. Sony very interestingly held back reviews until the last possible moment, so there was no real discussion of what the movie was before I got to see it, which is great. I do love going in to see a movie blind. Obviously, we'd seen the trailer, but the trailer's more of a mood piece. It's the Rudyard Kipling's Boots about the Boer War recorded in 1915 for the First World War. It's just atmosphere and mood. And like, watching the movie the first time is one of the most magical experiences I've had in cinema in a while. To Jack's point, it is structured like three very different movies. And the beauty of the movie is that I could not see what the next movie was as I was progressing through each of the third segments, which is incredible. And like, as somebody who watches a lot of movies, that is quite rare. And as somebody who watched a lot of movies, that is quite rare, and it's even rarer that it works. Like, it's rare to be able to catch me off guard, and it's rare to be able to catch me off guard and then afterwards have me go, that is the perfect way. That is the only way that movie could have worked, and it did. Where the movie is constantly surprising me, it's constantly inventive, and I've gone back, I've seen it twice since, just to make sure that it wasn't just an initial kind of like high of, wow, the movie's surprising me and doing stuff I haven't seen a movie do before. It blew my socks off. It is incredibly inventive visually. Like, it is up there with, for me, like Wolf of Wall Street, in terms of, this is a 60-something-year-old director who is like still finding ways to play with the language of cinema. Very famously, they have like the iPhone rigs, where like they're able to do, basically, they're able to break the 180 rule in a single shot because they're able to bullet time with iPhone cameras, which is absolutely incredible. But yeah, it like, stunning piece of filmmaking, incredibly inventive. I will say, incredibly moving. The thing that really shocked me about this movie, particularly the first time I watched it, was like how sincere and earnest and heartfelt it was, where I did not expect to have my eyes watering at the end of it. And I will say, the second time I saw it, which was at noon on a Saturday that it released, there was a gentleman behind me who was openly sobbing during the third act. And when the lights came up, turned to his friend and said, that was incredible. And it's like, this is why we go to the movies. This is what Nicole Kidman was talking about. It looks stunning. It sounds incredible. It's really thought-provoking. It's really clever. It has things to say, and it's a movie that I have thought about incessantly, like, since like I saw it. It is currently sitting comfortably in the top 3 films I have seen this year. I love this movie so much.
Special shout out to the sound design, the score, and the editing, which all work together to generally speaking, they say like the best film editing is the editing that you don't notice. Whomever edited this said, fuck that. We are going to make you feel very uneasy, very purposefully. Mixed with the score, the tension is audibly palpable. It closes in on you during those moments. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous.
Yeah, and it's experimental in really effective ways. In like you said, mentioned Darren, the sort of the iPhone camera rig, where it's almost these video game-esque kill shots, which is juxtaposed with like none of this is supposed to feel cool, but they present it in a way that like glaringly looks quote unquote cool. The shots of like the infrared night vision cameras at night, and just like the for lack of a better term, community that these rage monsters have created for themselves wandering through the woods. Using the kind of the found footage of not only using that Kipling poem, but showing footage of
primordial England, like playing like, is it like Lawrence Olivier's Henry V and stuff, and like archive footage of soldiers marching to war. Like it is like a folk horror. It is like the memory of Britain. It's like this island has a memory, and this memory is manifesting itself. Where like even the fact like the kid and his father are going through the woods like with bows and arrows, that's Robin Hood. They're playing at being Robin Hood as you're playing footage of like archers and Tudors and the St. George's. Like it is so fascinating, and it to me as an Irish person who like lives next door to England and Ireland, of course, like America, every country has a unique relationship to its own history and its own mythology and stuff like that. But as somebody who like has family over in England and has spent a lot of time in England and like loves British culture in general, the movie to me really tapped into like the unique relationship that Britain has to its own identity, where there is this sense of this soil and this land has a history and a memory. And like, it feels at times like during the movie, you are experiencing the memory of the soil on which these characters are walking, which is incredible. How do you convey that? How do you convey that through editing and cinematography? How do you communicate that without having a character actually say that? And no character says that at any point during the movie, but you feel it, which is incredible.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
No,
yes.
That's absolutely that's everything I felt from it as well.
You know, because like, and they do use this very interesting kind of like editing and visual language. Like as far as like there are dream sequences in the movie that are very clearly like someone falls asleep and we kind of tumble into a fantasy realm, a realm that's not quite there. But then also during like whilst just talking about going on the hunt, they will harsh cut to, like Marty said, this like night vision red glowing eyes footage of like these rage caveman monsters tearing apart deer. That is clearly no character can see that, but it's just to evoke a feeling, and like something being evocative is both a term that is overused and a really like ethereal, hard to explain term. This movie is evocative. It just makes you feel stuff, and that's the goddamn power of audio and visual medium bullshit.
68-year-old director, like the director who like, and I like Boyle a lot, like, and I will say like I've always had a soft spot for Boyle. I think like even when Boyle is workmanlike, when he's doing like trance, I'm like, yeah, I'm here for it. I like it. I think he's made genuine masterpieces. Like I love Sunshine, love Train Spotting, and he's made movies that are not great, like A Life Less Ordinary or that Beatles movie or those TV shows like Is It Trust or The Sex Pistols, which I watched one episode of and tagged myself out of, and it's incredible to me that
Beatles movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now is the only time in history, Jack, I can say that Beatles movie, because we're about to get 4 more.
There's going to be too many
Beatles movies. You know that one Beatles movie, not the 4 Beatles movies, the one Beatles movie. But it's incredible to me that like a director at his age, who, to be honest, has not worked a lot recently. His last movie was what 2019 was. Yesterday was the Beatles movie, the Ana de Armas movie that we talk about. But like, it's been at this stage 6 years since he made a movie, and it's like it's kind of it reminds me of George Miller, where it's like the guy has been away so long, your instinctive reaction is, well, look, he's clearly out of touch, and I mean, what's he got to offer the medium? And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, it's like he's got the most. Do you reckon Kojima is like really pissed that he couldn't get Boyle for like Death Stranding 2?
Couldn't put him in the Soul Machine. Listen, I haven't finished it. I don't know. He might be in the Soul Machine.
He couldn't put him in I think Guillermo del Toro. Yeah, it's Mike Flanagan.
He's in the Soul Machine. Yeah, he's in it. He's one of the preppers. I was like, oh,
I love that everybody's like, we're not comfortable arrangement with AI stealing our likeness in perpetuity, but like Kojima's like, hop in my machine. Everyone's
No,
like, yeah!
Kojima is like Ethan Hunt. There's only one person we could trust with it. It's Kojima.
Does he walk around with the machine with a glowing yellow 5D hard disk drive in his pocket? By the way, while we're talking about Kojima, did you read the article about like his movie habits and his personal letterboxd?
Oh, how he didn't know. He
Yeah,
didn't have
he didn't
a
know
letterbox. He didn't know, but when they asked him, told him Scorsese has it. He said, "Oh, Scorsese's the second god because the first god is George Miller."
Yeah. No, but he also like he revealed that he had like his own letterbox for the purpose. Like he didn't know what letterbox was, so he had like
his own personal record.
He has a notes app, right? And the notes app contains 1 thumbs up for a movie he likes, 2 thumbs up for a movie he loves, and a heart for a movie that he watched with his son or sons, which I find just really sweet. Like I love that he was just like, if Letterboxd did not exist, I would invent it.
The world's greatest weirdo, truly the world's greatest weirdo. I love him deeply. But yeah, even 20 years later, just like there are locations and images that will be seared in my head forever. Whether it's sort of seeing the hill with the tree silhouetted in the distance and the zombies rising over it, or just the lone alpha standing there silhouetted, or everything involving the island they live on. Land. Ooh, I should have looked up.
Holy Island. Holy Island.
Is that what the name of the?
Yes,
like the place
Island.
where the tides come in.
Where the village. Yeah, we can't get over the causeway.
Yeah. Just how gorgeous that is, just as a concept, like just as a
and it's a real place.
Yeah. And then how they use it. I guess we should probably get into spoilers at some, because there is I think it's worth digging a little into that third act, why it's so effective, and especially the ending, which is kind of nuts. So we'll mark it here. I'll put timestamps in the VOD, but.
Kinda nuts is not doing it justice.
Oh no, truly, and it is like
it's a
the
perfectly
most
chill,
insane,
perfectly normal ending. It's
to a somber coming of age zombie movie, exactly how a normal coming of age somber zombie movie.
I don't know how movies normally end for you guys, but
just a lot of Jimmy Savile references in my movies. Okay, so spoilers from here on. Early on, just one of my favorite scenes is when the alpha is chasing them through the causeway, and you could under the moonlight, and you could see how the water does not faze him whatsoever as he's moving. Truly incredible stuff there. Tyrell, you mentioned Attack on Titan. I literally thought about Attack on Titan while watching this. I have to think someone visually on that team saw that and how to represent, especially the alpha. Really great shit.
Or just how they move as well. As I've also seen Attack on Titan, and there is this kind of it reminds me of if you've ever watched those videos. Not a toddler. It's like we taught an AI how to walk, in this 3D program, how to step over a box, because there is something very unnatural about seeing the human form not walk correctly but still move forward. Walking is just a series of catching yourself while falling. It's a stupid process. And so to watch how all of the zombies move, but especially the alphas, and for anyone who doesn't know, the lore, the slight lore expansion that they've done in 28 years later is that the rage zombies, because it's not flesh eating, they are infected with rage. They have created almost. They've created a little proto Neanderthal society for themselves. They are, just hunter gatherers, and each little network has an alpha male as their quote unquote leader. And they are super large. The dad at one point
blowing in the breeze.
Oh, they are super large, if you know what I'm saying. And the dad at one point says I've seen 15 arrows
shots.
Go in one and not take it down. And we later on see several arrows in one, and it does not take it down. It's beautiful and haunting and just wonderfully inhuman. That kind of just gets some of the plot away if you haven't seen the movie yet.
Before we move on, you mentioned Attack on Titan, it's worth noting that Garland is an avowed Attack on Titan fan. We talked about men. It was a huge influence on men. And men obviously. Men is a huge influence here. That's right.
Yeah, I've never even put two and two together. But even the faces in men, look like
Yeah.
the stretched,
Yeah,
terrifying
sure.
faces.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's spot on.
And there is a lot of men here as well. Like you mentioned, the idea of like at one point the zombie literally rises up out of the grass, but coming over the hill, that's very men-like as well. There is a
Yeah.
lot of men here.
Yeah.
And as Jack pointed out, there's a lot of man here too, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
a lot of capital M men and a lot of lowercase m man. I couldn't. Every time I saw the alpha, I just thought of naked Gandalf from the Rings of Power when he first captures. I was like, I wonder if Gandalf has as big of a dick as this guy does.
But you know that they've actually had to address this, or like Danny Boyle's had to explain in interviews that it is a prosthetic because of child labor laws. Because so much of the movie involves like a 12-year-old kid. You cannot have like people be naked. Yeah,
Great, by the way. Like
phenomenal.
I don't know who he is, but he's
Alfie Williams,
excellent.
isn't it? I think it is.
Yeah, just like legitimately excellent.
Yeah.
To anchor the movie, and obviously like the first act he's alongside Aaron Taylor Johnson, the second act he's alongside Jodie Comer, who's great, and that's what I think that act culminates in the really emotional moment of anyone who's ever, not like you need to be able to associate with it, but anyone who's ever had sort of a slow end to a relationship with especially a parent, like that act ends, that hits so hard when they finally make it to the Bone Temple and get to Ray Fiennes, who's we haven't mentioned yet, who's also fucking amazing in his 20 minutes in the movie.
And like such a clever twist as well, because we're in the spoiler zone here, where like he's introduced as like this monster who is just like burning bodies in the middle of nowhere, and this stench
and who
of
just
death,
like waves to them in the distance.
Yeah, and it's like come down, come down, come down.
Yeah.
But like because you again to Jack's point, like because you've seen 28 Days Later, and you know what the play is here. They're going to introduce a classically trained, veteran, established British actor in the third act. The movie's going to take a twist, and he's going to turn out to be a complete monster. You're waiting for like the reveal that Ray Fiennes is like Colonel Kurtz, the man who has gone completely insane. And instead the movie just like takes this incredible sharp left turn of like, no, he's actually like the nicest man in the world, and also like a philosopher, and also incredibly thoughtful and sincere, and
maybe slightly insane.
Oh yeah, definitely a little insane.
Little.
I think anyone who's building a titular bone temple is nuts. But like his reasonings for building it aren't creepy. It's like kind of like, oh, this is actually like kind of beautiful and poetic of honoring and remembering all of these people that everyone's lost.
Yeah.
Stunning performance.
Stunning performance, though. For a hot minute, like I was having a hard time placing the actor. He is heavily like makeup in iodine. So he's a little obscured, and he has like goop all over him. And for a split second, I wondered if it was an older Eccleston reprising his role from the first movie.
Oh,
to be like, oh, he survived and has now gone a little crazy. But no, okay, it's a different actor. So
I was only mostly dead. I do like when they ripped me through the backseat of the car, I just kind of picked myself up and dusted myself off and said, okay, I'm going to go build myself a bone temple. Message
received.
But like that's the thing, the first movie is actually a really the first act, which is its own movie, is a very stereotypical zombie tale of kind of going out to learn. I see this as the father kind of teaching his sons of the true horrors of the world. It's like we have to go out there and you have to see how bad it is out there to appreciate how good we have it here, right? And obviously a ton of tension, a little action, some beautiful father-son moments, and they make it back to their island, and then we get to the second beautiful act of the movie, which is just the son and now mother, who is very ill, making another trek out into the wilds to try to save his mother, and it is somehow like incredibly lonely and isolated, even though like he is there with his mother. Part of her illness means that she has some mental health problems. She can't necessarily tell what year it is, the reality of the situation. Beautiful visuals. But then we get to this third act, which is its own separate movie, in which well, I don't even know where to start with this. Like, do we start with the baby? Do we start with the bone temple? Like, how do you Because in my head, the transition is when the rage monster gives birth to a non-infected baby in one of the a beautiful cringe-worthy, like, oh God, please don't show that scenes in a horror movie.
And it's set up. It's like, again, it's you see the snippets of the pregnant zombie a little bit earlier, and you're like, oh, that's interesting. And again, first time I'm watching it, it's like, there's no way they're gonna come back to that. Like, what can you do with a pregnant zombie that you can get away with, like in like British or American cinema? And they do come back to it, and like, it is incredibly moving, as you say. It's one of the moment where, I think you're right, that is the moment where the movie really pivots and becomes incredibly sweet and sincere. There's the moment where like Jodie Comer, who has moments of lucidity throughout the film where like she protects her son at one point, and there's this ambiguity about like she smashes a zombie's brain in while her son is asleep. He's meant to be keeping watch, he falls asleep, a zombie comes and attacks, and she smashes its skull in, and they wake up and they're like, oh my God, what happened here? And she's like, I have no idea. And there's this ambiguity about whether or not she can't remember because she has brain cancer, or she just doesn't want her son to think of her as a person who could smash a skull in. But you have the moment in the train where they go to the train and they find the pregnant zombie, who is screaming in agony because pregnant zombies don't know what this is. They don't know what pregnancy is. They don't know what birth is. The implication, by the way, is that like this child was conceived of to infect it, I think, or at least that's what I read it as. It isn't that a pregnant woman got bitten. It's that like two zombies had sex and produced a child.
Theoretically, it would have to be.
I mean, it doesn't really make sense otherwise. But they have this moment where Comer just kind of, or Isla, just kind of like locks in and like forges this incredible connection with the zombie giving birth, where they have this kind of moment of clarity that transcends like the species barrier or the rage barrier, and they're able to like talk through the birth, or kind of get through the birth, and the baby, which is clean, as you say, it's an uninfected child, because Ray Fiennes handwaves it with the magic of the placenta. I thought that might happen, which by the way is incredibly dark, because it gives you the implication that like these zombies are continually having sex and giving birth, and when there isn't a human being around to save the baby from its parent, what must happen to the baby? But like they do manage to save the baby, and like you have the thing with the large alpha where the implication to me, and again, so much of this movie is unsaid, it's left unspoken, you can infer or you can not infer, it's up to you, but the implication is that the alpha is the father, and that he is preoccupied with chasing down Alfie and the baby because that is his baby and he wants it back. So like you have this kind of, again, really interesting transition where this is a movie about parents and kids in many ways. I'm sure we'll get to the finale in a moment, but like it is about Alfie's relationship to his father, and like his father who wants Alfie to be like a man's man, where like they come back from the adventure and Alfie's father is talking about how, oh, was it Billy Big Bollocks here was like, pull another arrow there and whatever. It's like, and while Spike is saying, that's not what happened, Dad. I was scared. I panicked. I didn't hit one of them. I hit one in the legs. He's like, no. He's just being modest. He's a real hero, is my boy.
Giant killer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because he's like, I need to mythologize this. And you have this kind of culture of like teaching young boys to kill. And this like this idea of like what we teach our children. Whereas on the other hand, you have Isla, who is a parent who cannot care for her child because she's not lucid. She, as you say, doesn't live in the present. She's not connected to reality. She doesn't have any sense of what the world is now, only what it was. And so Spike is like a child who's been left to fend for himself. And so you have this analog of Spike, the child who is left to care for himself in a world that is inherently hostile, caring for this baby that also has a mother that was ready to kill it, and a father that is like hunting it down across the wilderness, presumably going to eat it. And you have like this beautiful, again, very allegorical, very fairy tale-y, very folklore-y, if we're getting back to like that idea of like men and like the British soil having memory, idea of like what it is to be a child unprotected in the world. And yeah, they escape the train, they get down, and Ray Fiennes darts him with morphine. Like he just darts the alpha with morphine.
Yeah.
It's incredible. They don't kill the zombie. They cap the zombie. They have him incapacitated, and Ray Fiennes just goes, "I'll just take that." Proper camp, like a really wonderful performance from Fiennes. But it completely upends your expectation of what the movie is when he incapacitates the zombie and doesn't kill him. He just leaves him standing there high on morphine while they go about their business. It's such an incredible sequence. And yeah, it's a moment that like when I was watching the first time, I was like, I don't know what the movie is now, and this is so exciting to me.
Right. Well, it takes it. It's a beautiful mirror to 28 Days Later, where like our heroes in 28 Days Later presumably find safety, find civilization,
Yes.
only then to realize that even within civilized society there is no civilization. By the way, just a quick 28 Days Later. I promised them women. What a
Oh yeah,
line!
yeah,
What a
yeah. Real
line!
monsters. Turns out we're the Walking Dead.
Oh.
And again, but again, like it's like the use of Fiennes here, where they bring in Eccleston, and Eccleston is just this incredible heavy hitter, where
Yeah.
like he says the line, "I promised them women," and it is horrifying, and you can
Yes.
tell that he also understands how horrifying it is, but he's
Yeah.
still going to do it. Like it's an
Yes.
incredible like moment because everybody in the room realizes how disgusting this is, but it's still going to happen. It's genuinely horrific. It's incredible.
And so like the third act of this movie is like finally our young Spike realizing like the horrible truth of the situation, which is quite literally everything he has been fighting for has been pointless. And we get some touching moments with him and his mother, with him and the Ray Fiennes' character, with him like and the baby, and like there is some beautiful poetry and catharsis and like true life lessons within a bone temple. And I know
temple.
Marty has said that a few times, but within quite literally pillars and monuments made of skulls and bones.
Yeah. It's gorgeous. It's like legitimately gorgeous. And
it does feel like it does feel like his career as a doctor or GP before the apocalypse was kind of wasted if he had this inside him all the time,
Yeah. I didn't know you were possible. You were a bone templar? You could have been doing that the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we mentioned.
What, you do a night course for this? Or
Yeah.
Listen, he doesn't want to monetize his hobby. Listen, Bone Temple is a hobby. He doesn't want to monetize it. It's like Yahtzee's baking. But no, you mentioned the parallels between Spike, the main kid, and the baby that's born. But there's also a third parallel there, and it's in a character that is the first character we see in the movie, and that I forgot existed until the final scene, which is why I think a lot of people have a very visceral reaction walking out of the movie is because of the literal final 90 seconds. So the movie opens with a terrifying scene of right like in the midst of the zombie outbreak back in 2002 of a kid, a room full of kids watching Teletubbies as their parents are clearly like preparing the house for like fucking zombies are coming. Telling the kids, just watch TV, everything will be fine, don't worry. And then zombies break into the house, and you artistically see a room full of children get slaughtered.
in the first like 2 minutes of like the movie, you get a screen of Teletubbies splattered with blood.
Beautiful.
And one boy escapes named Jimmy, and he's able to get to his dad, who's a priest, who's kind of just fucking lost it and been like, "Oh, I'm ready for God, take me!" And he hides in the floorboards as he watches his dad get completely eviscerated. With his and he's got the dad's little crucifixion. Then it cuts, and then the rest of the movie is not about Jimmy. I literally forgot Jimmy existed by that point. I'd seen enough zombie alpha dong to forget that Jimmy existed until the very end of the movie when Spike is ready to go off on his own and to sort of find himself, to like realize who he is as a human being. And he gets surprised, ambushed by a couple zombies, and out of nowhere a group of young men dressed as Jimmy Savile.
Gender equality.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Gender equality. Dressed as Jimmy Savile, a longtime television host, music, just like a famous British guy who was kind of beloved until after his death. It turned out was a notorious sexual abuser, just like rampant, like one of history's true monsters. But that was never found out in this timeline because he probably died by zombie bite at some point. The group save him as Power Rangers?
Versions of Jimmy Savile. It's Teletubby versions of Jimmy Savile to bring it full circle.
But they move like Power Rangers.
Oh,
like they do.
It's shot like a Japanese or like Hong Kong action movie. Where like it's lots of quick cuts. whip sounds. Like Jack mentioned, wonderful Foley work, like which comes out of nowhere. Nothing in the movie has had Foley work quite like those final 90 seconds. There's flips. There's like in rhythm, like sawing of a zombie's head off, which favorite moments where like there are two of them who've got like the tag team routine working out, and it's very much like a 1980s aerobics video where they're just like, yep, swivel the hips, that's how you do it. Incredible stuff. I just want to read the names of some of the characters who appear in this sequence. So you have like Emma Lard as Jimanina, you've Maura Bird as Jimmy Jones, you have Erin Kerryman as Jimmy Inc., and obviously you you have Jack O'Connell of Sinners, very much like honing in on a niche here, but being like, yeah, he's Sir Jimmy Crystal, the cult leader. By the way, it's also worth noting that the character Cillian Murphy played in 28 Days Later was called Jim, just to bring that full circle.
No, and then we see the crucifix, so this is the kid from the beginning of the movie. 28 years. I was gonna say 20-some years later. It's literally the fucking title.
Let's be pals, he says as he holds out like his hand. Like what's it? The 1, 3, 2, 1, a fucking go. It's incredible. He's only on screen for 90 seconds, and he's incredible.
It turns from a Danny Boyle movie into. Oh wait, who did like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels?
Guy Ritchie. It is quite Guy Ritchie.
It turns from a Danny Boyle movie into a Guy Ritchie movie. And keep in mind, this is directly after the mother who had cancer has died, and and Spike places her now like cleansed skull on top of the bone tower, and he decides
kisses her skull and says, "I love you, Mom." And like sends the baby back home to his father, who, by the way, has not left the community to go look for him. One of the best touches in the movie is the reveal that, like, at the start they give a big speech where it's like, now we want you to know when you go out there, you're on your own. There are no rescue missions. Nobody's coming to save you. And you're watching, you're thinking, well, obviously Aaron Taylor Johnson is going to go looking for his wife and kid, right? And I just love that at the end they cut back to the island. Aaron Taylor Johnson's just sitting at the kitchen table. World's greatest dad.
So the movie takes a harsh turn to ultra camp, kung fu, colorful violence. And Jesus Christ, what a way to end the movie.
And it just ends. And it's because there's a second one, like a sequel was filmed back to back with it and is coming out in January called Bone Temple.
It's coming out, it is like 28 weeks later. It's coming out exactly 28 weeks after.
That's good.
Which is really that's incredible scheduling from Sony. Good work, Sony.
To me, before I listened to Darren's wonderful video essay on this, which, by the way, you all should if you have not seen the backdrop on 28 Years Later. Like, you do a really good job of kind of wrapping this up as far as, not just Brexit, but as kind of generational tensions are concerned, the ending of this movie. To me, I saw this more as a middle finger to Hollywood studios who, like, this is the kind of zombie movie they would have made with this property. Aren't you glad you didn't get that? So
right before you get that, 28 weeks before you get that. It is worth checking out, like, the Bone Temple. All three movies are written by Garland. The Bone Temple is directed by Nia DaCosta, who is, interestingly, she's an American, but she studied in London. She spends a lot of time in London. She very infamously spent like the post-production period on the Marvels in London, perhaps controversially, working on her Hedda Gabler picture with Tessa Thompson. So like it's not as if she doesn't have an association with Britain. And I'll be honest, I love DaCosta as a filmmaker. I think The Marvels is a bad movie.
Yeah, I thought Marvels was really bad.
Yeah, Candyman is one of the best like sequels, and like I obviously what's the movie she did with Lily James beforehand, which was really good. Anyway, it's Pines or Woods or something like that, but it's very good anyway. But yeah, I am quite excited for that. But Boyle is coming back for the third one, and like to Jack's point about like the understanding of like the relationship between like Hollywood and these movies. It is so fucking smart that like Cillian Murphy has just won an Oscar for Oppenheimer. He is the most marketable that he has ever been. He has worked with like Boyle and Garland repeatedly, where he worked on 28 Days Later, worked on Sunshine, and he has said he's coming back, but he's only filming a cameo for the second movie. and he's gonna have an appearance at the end of the second movie, like Jimmy does at the end of this movie, and he's only gonna be in the third movie, which Sony haven't agreed to pay for yet. Although apparently, according to Boyle in Ireland, that's all just like they're just waiting for the signature. But who knows if that's true?
Right.
But like, I love that like Boyle and Garland and Murphy are just like, if you want Cillian Murphy, you gotta greenlight the third one.
How do we
It's like,
weaponize our golden boy? Yeah,
that's it exactly. It's like if you want the nostalgic cash in, you have to give us our two weird, colorful movies, which is like the perfect way to do this, is to use IP as kind of a Trojan horse, because there's no way a studio would greenlight a movie like this if it wasn't part of an established franchise. And this movie is beautiful and brilliant, and it's incredible, and it's like,
absolutely brilliant.
And if Cillian Murphy were in the next one, there's a good chance that they'd be like, okay, well, that we've done enough. We've got our Cillian Murphy one. Whereas if you end the next one with a tease of Cillian Murphy and you don't make the third one, it's it's
people are gonna burn the Bone Temple down and make a third one. People are gonna be so upset.
I love, by the way, the second movie's called The Bone Temple. They've already been to the Bone Temple. Like I'm quite nervous. I'm like very nervous about like Ralph Fiennes, careful bone constructs. What's Jimmy got planned for the Bone Temple?
We were in a bone monument, clearly.
Yeah.
Now there's
so maybe you think this might not be the Bone Temple?
I think that is not the Bone Temple. I think we saw a bone structure, a bone botanical garden.
Botanical garden.
I love that.
I never even considered that the Bone Temple could be somewhere we haven't been yet. That's very exciting.
I just love, and then they keep escalating. It's like Death Stars in Star Wars. They just keep building more elaborate bone structures.
You want the audience to keep asking, when are we going to get to the Bone Temple?
It's like the third, like 28 years later, it was going to be called Bone Town. We're going to Bone Town.
Could you imagine Boneburg?
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Boneburg is the European capital.
Yeah.
That's what happened to France after they nuked it at the end of 28 weeks later. By the way,
but then it got unnuked. It's fine because Sweden's fine, and that one dude's dating an OnlyFans model.
I love that, like, the movie comes with 4 lines of exposition at the start, and the third and fourth line of that exposition are, by the way, 28 weeks later never happened, which is incredible pettiness from Garland.
No. It did have, like, they showed the footage from it, and they were like, oh yeah, like the zombies touched on mainland, but mainland pushed it back. It's fine. Like, it happened. We're just not gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
And when they asked Garland about it, I think Garland's like, yeah, we just nuked Paris. That's what happened. Like, it's like
we let the sharks have it. They made a whole movie about it. It belongs to the sharks.
Under Paris.
Yeah.
And as we all know, the rage virus can't get into dogs, so logically it can't get into sharks.
Definitely know that. We know that now. Thank you to our VTuber. Wonderful. Any last thoughts on 28 years later before we go over some more super chats and then everything else we've been watching?
Just so good. Like as someone like in the early aughts, we were overrun with zombie movies. And like, everybody makes a zombie movies. There's a million zombie movies. There's so many zombie things. But in the early aughts especially, we were overrun. And it forced me to miss out on a genuinely good movie. And I don't know if there's anything other to say than, like, even if you think you are done with zombie movies, this is more zombie adjacent than a zombie movie. Well worth your time.
Damn, it's almost like if you replace the word zombie with Star Wars, that's how we're trying to sell you on Andor.
Son of a
Darren, any last thoughts? Any last thoughts?
It's just incredible. Like it is at the moment, like it's up there with Sinners. It is like up there with Sinners. It's like everything that I want from crowd pleasing blockbuster cinema, which is like, it is incredibly well made. It is made with confidence and style. It is within a genre space, but it is also showing me something that I have never seen before on screen. And yeah, I loved it so much. I've seen it 3 times. I'm actually a little bit ticked that like they pushed, I can't remember what it was they pushed. Oh, it was F1. F1 pushed this off like premium format screens. So I had to see this 3 times in the space of a week in IMAX, and that was it. And it was just gone. And it's a real shame because it is a beautiful, beautiful film. And I think, as much as it is moving and incredibly sweet and like incredibly thoughtful and incredibly profound and all those things, it is also incredibly visually inventive, where like, I think, you mentioned, Marty, there are moments in this movie that will stay with me, moments that I will think about when I close my eyes, and even just simple visuals. Like you said, that shot of the Alpha silhouetted against the sun as the camera moves from left to right, which is such a simple pan. It's such a simple movement of a camera, but it somehow looks so primal and so evocative. I wish that more blockbusters were like this. And it only cost $60 million to make. So
Yeah, which means we don't have to get those fucking stories about is the movie underperformed. But we still got the stories about is the movie.
I mean, we also got that about Sinners as well. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, luckily though, F1 is not underperformed. Brad Pitt is
yeah.
a saint and a hero and a legend, and he's single-handedly keeping
Shocking.
cinema alive. Yeah.
Apple will be fine. Okay. Spoilers done.
Spoilers done.
Couple super chats before we go into everything else we've been watching. Adlet, thank you so much for a $5 dono. I'm just excited for Spaceballs 2. Listen, I think the Naked Gun's going to be good, and I think that's going to start a wave. We're going to get a new Deuce Bigelow male gigolo. We're going to get a new love guru. Everything's coming back. They're all here.
Bruce Gigolo, right? Would that be it at this point?
Think about it.
Can I ask? I think it's going to be good. Do you think it's going to be successful?
Naked Gun? No, I think it'll be good and unsuccessful, and I think Spaceballs 2 will be bad and unsuccessful.
Huge on streaming, but like huge on streaming.
That is
Naked Gun will be huge on streaming. Naked Gun will be good and big on streaming. Correct.
Yeah, I think it'll be a cult hit. I think it'll be like Hot or like
5 years later, we'll start seeing pieces from GQ like, how did we let it flop? Yeah. Like, it'll be like, this is a masterpiece. Why don't we have 20 sequels? It's like, because nobody went to see it. But I love the poster there. The no AI was used in the making of this poster.
Oh, yeah, with the 6-7 fingers. Or whatever. Really good. Which dovetails into Sussy Guru with a €5 dono said, which do you think will be worse of the bladed sequels, Spaceballs 2 or Naked Gun?
Spaceballs 2.
Spaceballs 2.
I'm very, very concerned about Spaceballs 2. I think it's genuinely not going to be funny.
Although I think we can all agree the best of all of these Lego sequels will be I Know What You Did Last Summer, the new one coming out. They ran another man over.
That one.
Another fishhook man. They ran another one over.
Start a stopwatch for how fast that movie will be forgotten.
Why don't they build sidewalks in this town? Why are all these fishermen walking on the side of the road? Maybe it's their fault. I don't think it's the kids' fault.
It's so like it is so bottom of the barrel where it's like this guy has a gimmick, and what's the gimmick? A hook. It's like done. Job done. We can go home, call it a day.
And what's his deal? Oh, he got ran over by some kids.
And he's the bad guy, right? He's the villain. Yeah,
he's real mad. What are the cops?
He's unreasonably mad. Yeah.
Sussy Guru with
those kids were just having some fun.
I guess they're all like waspy kids, so I'm sure their parents would be like, "Oh, they just made a silly decision." Yeah. Sussy Guru, thank you so much for another dono. Went on a small sci-fi binge recently, including Something in the Dirt, Synchronic, Sputnik, and Vesper. Have you seen any of those? I saw Something in the Dirt and Synchronic. I believe both of those were by Benson and Moorhead. The guys who they did a bunch of Moon Knight as well. They've done a couple like really great low budget
what was the
low budget sci-fi movie. Spring. What was that?
Didn't they do one with Lawrence Fishburne? Am I misremembering?
No, Anthony Mackie. Okay. He was in this.
Okay.
No, I wasn't trying. No, I wasn't. Wasn't trying to. I don't think a lot of people are getting Lawrence Fishburne and Anthony Mackie confused. They're extremely.
Do like the super level of racism there, like where it's like. Now I have to find out what the movie actually was, so I don't seem like okay. All right. I am going to be very quiet on this chat for the next 5 minutes while I try to figure out how racist Darren is.
I have not seen Sputnik or Vesper though, but I think Something in the Dirt.
I haven't even heard of these movies.
Synchronic. They're good.
They had
Benson and Moorhead. Just watch anything Benson and Moorhead. It's two dudes.
I'm opening a tab
because it almost sounds like you're talking about what were the names of the Game of Thrones guys? Oh, Benny Offenweiss.
Benny Offenweiss.
And it sounds like you're talking about someone named Benjamin Offenweiss. When you say their names back to back, it just sounds like one dude. Thank you so much, Sussy Guru. We also had a Ko-Fi super chat. Thank you so much, Mr. Tickleton. Have any of you got to see the new season of The Bear? I gotta say, I'm getting real tired of Sad Boy Carmi, and it's starting to feel dry and played out, and I wish they would just let Ayo Edebiri write and direct more episodes. They just feel fresher and tell better stories overall. I'm only 3 episodes into the new things, but I kind of feel the same way like I did in season 3, where it feels like that is a show that was like 2 borderline perfect seasons. And now there's still smatterings of true brilliance, but overall it's just like what are we doing here? Like literally, what is our story? Like no one's changing, and I guess you don't need everyone to change. I think it's unbearable. I think I'm getting food poisoning.
By the way, the movie I was thinking of was Thing Shot, which was not directed by them. It was directed by a guy called Michael Hallstrom, and it stars Casey Affleck and Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Slingshot.
Slingshot. It was fine.
It was fine. It gets the Darren seal of approval. Seba, thank you so much for the dono. My first super chat ever. Just wanted to tell you that I love the content. Sending you all a virtual hug, starting with Jack and ending with Jack. Keep up the good work, especially Jack.
Wow.
And Jack in the middle as well, just to break things up.
First of all, I don't like touching people I don't know.
Virtual hug. It's not touching.
He's hugging you, Jack. You're not touching him.
I still don't like.
I don't think that's how touching works. I'm gonna be honest. Not sure how.
I appreciate that, Seba. It takes me a little bit to warm up to people. I do not like touching them.
No touching. CSI Freak
should know about me
with a £2 dono. Thank you so much, CSI Freak. Darren, thoughts on the upcoming movie The Roses?
This is the remake of War of the Roses. Is it directed by, is it Adam McKay? Or no, it's the other one. It's the guy who did Jay Roach, I believe it is, starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman. I actually rewatched War of the Roses, the Danny DeVito movie, to like prepare myself for it, because I remember quite liking War of the Roses, and the trailer for The Roses is so strange because it's like Jay Roach in like Meet the Parents era could do like an American, not that like War of the Roses is an American movie, but it has a very British sensibility. And it's weird that it's like they're doing a British version of that, but directed by Jay Roach, the Meet the Parents guy, who in recent years has like Adam McKay developed kind of notions of like, I'm a real live filmmaker, or I'm a serious filmmaker who like merits being taken seriously as a great author or a great artist. And yeah, I'm kind of skeptical of it because
also
like
written by Tony McNamara,
who
wrote Poor Things and The Favorite and was the creator of The Great. So this could be,
and like a supporting cast of genuinely fine comedians. Like,
yeah, like and like a primary cast is great as well. Like Cumberbatch and Coleman are like great as well. Like there's a lot there to like, but the tone of and again, this is one of the things where like trailers can be misleading, particularly if you're marketing like a particularly acerbic dark film. Materialist is a great example of this recently, where it's like the easiest way to get people into the cinema to see a comedy is to convince them that it's some goofy, silly stuff, and then you have their money and they have to watch your movie. So maybe that's what's happening here, but it feels so strange as somebody who like watched the DeVito War of the Roses, which is just this like pitch black, like really bitter satire of like yuppie materialist divorce, and like the trailer for this going full goofball, like full like Meet the Parents, Jay Roach is back. So I'm kind of skeptical of it, but like I don't know, it could turn out to be like secretly brilliant.
This could be like a really prime example of like how the importance of editing a trailer, right?
Sure.
Like, which is an art unto itself, of course. I think actually that would be a more interesting thing. If the movie is genuinely good, then we can look at the trailer and be like, what did they do wrong here? Let's look at that. Because I mean, the trailer makes the movie look dull and bad.
I mean, what they did wrong was like try to lure normies into the cinema. Like that's the I will say, like, we're talking about trailers. You know, did you watch the 28 Years Later trailer that uses the boots? The reason that Boots is in the movie is because Boyle saw the trailer that they had cut to his own movie and was like, "That's incredible. That song should be in my movie." So the reason why Boots appears in the sequence where Spike and his father are walking over the mainland is because like Boyle saw the trailer for his own movie. Was like, that's a good idea. I should do that. Yeah. That's something I should use.
That's brilliant.
I also feel like that's the like best word of mouth you could give a company like that. Now I feel like every single movie should be looking at that trailer house and being like, fuck, who made that?
It's like the best version of what happened with Suicide Squad. Like it's
yeah. Hawk Abridging with a $2 dono. Thank you so much. Great work on the new Backdrop episode. Excellent. Thank you so much, Hawk Abridging. Yeah, it was great.
Incredible work from Jesse there. Like I know I do this every time, but it is incredibly important to state this. Like that is a co-authored text between myself and usually Jesse, occasionally Omar. Like so much of what makes that video work is Jesse, where like the the Jamaica cameo, I had no idea was coming until I watched the video. The penis ASMR stuff was just something I had but I had no idea that was going to be in the finished cut of the video until it was in the finished cut of the video, where that was me goofing around to do I was playing with Jesse, and Jesse kind of took it and ran with it and turned into something that I think it's very funny as the person that is happening to.
Yes.
As a person who that may play at a job interview, I do at some point in the future. I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, incredible work. It is a collaborative thing, and Jesse is very much a co-author of that. I think it's a really good episode. I mean, I think they're all really good episodes, but I think I'm really proud of how that turned out, and particularly to shout out from an ending standpoint, this is a film we did not have much footage of. We did, obviously it's still in theaters,
right?
Yeah. So it just incredible work from Jesse there. And I think it's a good. I say immodestly, but So thank you. That means the world to me that people seem to like that.
Good vid. Okay, we're gonna move on to the other stuff we've been watching. Save the super chats for the end. However, our segue there will be Frequency with a $5 dono with their own, to be fair, baby assassins. Japanese teenage apathy a la Clerks with a splash of John Wick. One of the lead did stunts in John Wick 4. Thanks for the amazing show, Baby Assassins. To be fair.
This is a real.
Also building off the ending of 28 years later, it seems as well.
A 2021 action comedy movie, Baby Assassins. That's a real movie.
There you go. Well, we know Frequencies, to be fair. Jack, do you have a to be fair? And have you been watching anything else?
I do. I have a couple. Okay, so a couple to be fairs. I don't know if I've said this to be fair before, but as I kind of, I have to be up here just to make sure I know what I'm gonna to be fair. And I noticed this, and I don't know if I've said this before, but the movie Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon is on Tubi.
That's a great one.
We watched that for a Phoenix Tier movie night, in which kind of a bunch of us get together and watch a movie live with our Phoenix Tier patrons. My first time seeing it, a movie that is incredible. And if I would have seen it as a child, I would have fallen in love with it. Historically was kind of shuttered by major distributors because they figured white people wouldn't want to see a very Black American movie. Which, who knows at the time, but a movie that I'm upset I didn't see as a child, loved watching as an adult. Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon on
It was
TV.
an amazing time watching that one.
Super fun. If you've ever wanted to watch a movie that you feel nostalgic for, even though you've never watched it, watch Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon. You will be oh, nostalgia. I've never seen this movie before.
Yeah. But I'm nostalgic for
it. Somehow it feels intrinsic. Yeah, somehow it feels intrinsic to my being.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So free to watch on Tubi. You don't even need to sign in. You can just watch movies. Again, we are not sponsored by Tubi. Okay. So into movies I've been watching here. Okay, we're gonna see if you guys can guess the movie.
Ooh.
Here's my story. Because I watched a movie that I genuinely enjoyed, but here's my story. The other day, last week, on my YouTube recommended videos, I see the thumbnail for a trailer for a movie. So I click on it. It's a movie I've never heard of. So I click on it, and it is starring actors I genuinely enjoy. It seems to be revolving around a main character who is socially awkward, kind of going through life. Seems a little darker, maybe a dark comedy, but now there's some supernatural elements into it as well. And perhaps the main character's reality isn't the real reality. And so it has some art house vibes, has some dark vibes, has some supernatural vibes, all revolving around a very socially awkward main character. And I go, oh my God, this movie is right up my goddamn alley. The trailer ends and it says it's coming out in February. And I said, that's really weird. Why are they giving me a trailer in February? As it turns out, I'm watching a 5-year-old trailer for a movie I've never heard of.
Okay, so 5 years ago, it's 2020. February is right before the pandemic. It's right before the pandemic.
Literally at the edge of the pandemic in February. The last clue I will give you to maybe let you cross.
It's not the Invisible Man, is it?
It's not the Invisible Man. The last clue I'll give you is it is a Netflix original movie.
Oh, that's not fair. There's like 300 of those out in February 2020.
That's
Starring-
great.
Oh no. It's not Doug Jones Mute, is it?
It is not Mute.
Oh, that would be
Okay.
weird.
The producers of the movie are well known in the kind of mumblecore genre.
Oh.
Like the DeBlas brothers? Oh, it was the DeBlas brothers?
I'll give you a moment here. I'll give you a moment to see if you can pull anything from your brain ether.
Okay.
Oh, is it the one with Alison Brie?
It's
it
the
Horse Girls?
Horse
Girls? Horse Girls!
Yeah. With Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah.
No, we're not saying.
What?
No, that's Alison Brie. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I was thinking Brie Larson. Brie Larson's directorial debut
God,
with
you're being
Samuel L. Jackson.
racist again, Darren.
I know. White women.
Racist against white women.
They were both on Community, though, so it's fine.
Alison Brie, Molly Shannon is in this.
Yeah.
Paul Reiser is in this. Weirdo art house movie about Alison Brie kind of being socially awkward and slowly losing grip with reality. Horse Girl, by the way, really good movie, very weird. I will soft pitch it to everyone as diet caffeine-free Saint Maud. So imagine Saint Maud, but diet and caffeine-free.
Where did you see this
we literally
trailer
have
and get
Saint Maud at
tricked by
home.
it? Yeah,
we
it's
literally have
literally
Saint
at
Maud.
home. Yeah.
Yeah,
Where
this
did,
is all the edges sand cut, all the edges sanded off.
Was this in a theater? You saw this?
No,
trailer?
this came up just in my YouTube recommendations. And
gotcha. Okay, I was confused. I thought a movie theater was showing a trailer for a 5-year-old Netflix movie.
It's a bold move. We need to speak to the kids.
Came up in my YouTube recommendations, and I see Alison. I like Alison Brie as an actor. This looks like it's dark. It's weird. Yeah.
We got asked about like July recommendations. I'm actually really looking forward to Together.
The horror movie
Dave Franco.
Yes.
What if codependency is the real monster?
Yeah. So in any case, Horse Girl. If you're into kind of art house, a little bit like awkward core, mumblecore stuff, it's very, very good. I enjoyed it. So that's my what I've been watching.
So you wouldn't say nay to it, no?
No, I think just saddle up.
That was good. Before we move over, I'm gonna try to segue, and someone's gonna think you both think I can see it in your fucking eyes. Both of you.
You should know it behooves you just to keep going.
Yeah, we're just stallion for time here.
What? Like, I want to know what is going on. Like, what is going on in your heads? What is happening?
I think like we should talk about more movies starring female actresses. We should really gal up.
I don't know why you won't just stop. Is it that you can't or won't? Can't?
Is that even a horse term? I don't even know what that one
Canter,
is.
you can't. It's canter. Like it's before gallop. It's before you gallop.
I think they fall apart when you start getting into like the real minutia. You gotta know your horse facts.
Sorry, I didn't mean to spur Jack on like that.
Guys, this friendship
is over.
Because I want to talk about the movie Friendship.
You know me, I can't let things settle. I have to stir up trouble. Stir up? They're the things you put your foot in on the.
I knew that one. I knew that.
Okay,
one.
okay.
I think you've really chapped Marty.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
Give me a second. I think I have one, but I'm just mulling it over in my head.
Oh, okay, yeah. So now we're going out of horses and just
general,
now
we're
like
branching into
creatures,
general.
right?
Yeah, I feel like that's an angle. Yeah.
Did you secretly drop a now we're prancing into? God damn it! What we watch Friendship? Can we talk about a movie?
Yeah. Go ahead, talk about Friendship.
Yeah, sorry.
I think all three of us. Yeah, you saw it, Darren, right?
I did, yeah. Jack, you've seen it, have you?
I watched Horse Girl instead, so I did not watch Friendship.
Oh, I thought you did watch
Oh,
Friendship.
okay, sorry.
Oh,
No, feel free to talk about it though. I'm looking forward to it. You can't spoil it for me. That's all right.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna
You'll
spoil
be
this one.
shocked to discover this movie starring Tim Robinson involves a high degree of social awkwardness.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the A24 Tim Robinson starring vehicle that does feel like one elongated I Think You Should Leave skit, where he's just a weird dude who lives at home with his wife and his kid, who doesn't really have any friends, but kind of becomes infatuated with a neighbor next door who is the local weatherman, played by Paul Rudd. And he tries to they kind of hit it off, and they have like a really good first couple hangs. And he's like, this is it. I think this is like the rest of my life is hanging out with this guy. He's in a band. He's really cool. He's a weatherman. And then
the tunnels under the city, and he's spontaneous.
Yeah.
So, like,
you're like, this is gonna be great. But then Tim Robinson is weird, and he's Tim Robinson. And Paul Rudd's like, we had fun, but I think we should friend break up.
We should friend other people. Yeah,
we should friend other people. And he kind of spirals out of control from there. As someone who really loves I Think You Should Leave, this had like 24 moments where I like genuinely belly laughed of like how fucking absurd things are, whether it's like a straight up like a visual gag that does not leave, like that should have been done way sooner than it is, to like a small background. There's a moment where you're seeing him sad. He's left a party and he's sad outside, and the camera's focused on him outside, and you can hear the din of the party inside. And the last thing you hear is a character inside going, and I just got one more thing to say. I think we never should have left Afghanistan. I think it was a huge mistake. And the scene ends. Like, who wrote that? And it is like one of those things where there's like 20 moments like that in the movie where I'm like, this is the good shit right here.
It is stunning to me that this was apparently written without Robinson attached. Like, it is in a Robinson vehicle, which is incredible. Like, it is so perfectly like laser guided to his talents. As you say, it feels like an elongated I Think You Should Leave sketch where like it does that thing that crosses the line between being funny and being deeply uncomfortable and deeply sad, which is where Robinson's like ideal zone is. But it was not written for him. It was like the director or the writer was like, I tried to make a friend in my 40s and it didn't go well. I thought I should channel that into and it's so cleverly uses like its entire cast. I think even Kate Mara, who plays the wife, is very good in as well. But like its use of Paul Rudd is incredible, where like Paul Rudd is just the right level of like cool enough to impress Tim Robinson, but also able to seem like pathetic in his own right if you get a bit of distance from him. Where like the movie is so perfectly calibrated, where it's like, to Tim Robinson, the local weatherman is the coolest guy in the world. But as you spend more time with him, you come to realize actually he's got his own issues going on, which is again just really, really clever. It is fascinating because it's kind of like a funnier version of the Banshees of Inisherin, which is like are men okay? Like it's a are men okay movie, and the answer shockingly is not really.
No.
I love that Marty's like, I love that the answer is yeah.
Oh yeah, we're doing great.
Movie's like no notes.
It also reminded me a lot of that Seth Rogen movie Observe and Report, if you remember, where he played like a mall cop, which is like a fucked up version of Paul Blart.
No, it came out like a couple of months after Paul Blart. Isn't that the thing where everyone's like, okay, we got the shit mall cop comedy, now we're gonna have like the fun mall cop comedy. And that movie is one of the most bitter, like acerbic movies I have ever seen, which is like incredible swing from Rogen. It's one of Rogen's most interesting roles because it's like very much playing against what you expect Rogen to play. It is very much in that zone. It is. I found myself really sad. Like I laughed.
Oh yeah.
There are incredibly funny moments in it, but it also has that thing that like a lot of Robinson's comedy has, which is like I feel profoundly sad watching this play out, which is like somehow like past cringe comedy where it's not even like I am uncomfortable, to be clear, very uncomfortable, but it transcends that and becomes almost profound, which is like just this incredible way of like layering it. It's a remarkable like movie, I think.
Yeah, I think the way like the I think you should leave like the iconic image of him and all that fucking makeup and being like, I don't want to be around anymore.
I've got too much stuff on me.
It is like simultaneously the dumbest, funniest thing, and also like incredibly sad. Yeah, good stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, it's out on VOD now. Yeah, I recommend it.
Yeah.
I give it a thumb.
Well, we're checking it. Yeah.
Darren, what have you been watching?
So a bunch of stuff. So I mentioned already I saw like the new Jurassic World Rebirth, which is in theaters today. It is about fine for the Jurassic Park franchise. Like it is, the Jurassic Park franchise is not a good franchise. Like it is so bad that it's like the fact that this is a functioning movie is like remarkable. Where do you guys know the story behind this? It's like Universal were planning, I believe, to release a Fast and Furious movie, which now will feature like a CGI version of Brian, because of course it will, because we live in the worst possible time.
Not terrifying whatsoever.
No, not at all. But they're planning to release that this summer, the sequel to Fast X. That obviously didn't come together. And like a year and a half ago, they're like, we need something to fill the gap to go in this space in case Mathregan 2.0 doesn't take off. Shock horror, Mathregan 2.0 didn't take off. But like they threw a whole load of money at it and they got it done incredibly quickly. And it is remarkable because it is a movie that at once feels like it was made incredibly quickly, but also somehow functions better than the Trevorrow movies that they spent a lot more time making. Where this is written by David Koepp, who's the screenwriter on the original Jurassic Park. He's been working this year with like Steven Soderbergh. He did Black Bag. He did Presence, for example. Like he's a writer who knows what he's doing. He's his own stuff as well. And like this is so fascinating because you could tell that like Koepp has a clear command of like basic screenplay structure in a way that very few modern blockbusters do, where this movie has a clear 3-act structure where they're going to the island, they're on the island, and they need to get off the island. And it understands what character arcs are in theory, in that like a character has to have an experience that changes them, and at the end they have a journey and they fulfill or they resolve the issues that they've been carrying with them. And while that is all true of this movie and therefore like makes it better than the Trevorrow movies where that does not happen at all, it is also very clear that like this was written over the course of a weekend on bar napkins, where David Koepp's like, look here, you gotta pay me 500 grand. That'll be 500 grand. You guys fill in the rest yourself. Where like the 3-act structure is quite literally, we need to get 3 separate breeds of dinosaurs in each like 40-minute segment of the movie. The character dilemmas are literally like Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali sit down and say, so you over your dead son yet? And it's like, no. You over your dead partner yet? No. All right, well, I hope we both have an experience over the course of this movie that allows us to move past that trauma. And the movie does. And there's also like, you can tell that like there were parts of this movie that were like airdropped in, where the plot of this movie is that Rupert Friend plays a pharmacy CEO. He's more like Rupert Foe, if you will, who decides he's going to harvest dinosaur DNA to make medicine or something. I don't know. Don't ask too many questions. So he hires a bunch of mercenaries to go to the island. And it really does seem like when they were on the verge of filming, they were like a weekend away from filming. And like Gareth Edwards was like, you know, Jurassic Park movies normally have like kids in them because they're summer blockbusters and kids love dinosaurs. And David Koepp's like, fuck, give me 20 minutes. And he's like, okay, I got you 20 pages of stuff. There's going to be a family with a bunch of kids who get stranded on the island, and they're only going to have to interact with Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali for like 3 days of filming, and the rest you could just do pick up and post. It'll be fine. You'll edit it together. Nobody will be able to tell. It is such a remarkable example of a movie that is very clearly like held together by like toothpicks and pins and sellotape, but clearly made by people who know how to make actual movies. So it is like, it's an interesting object in that it is broken, but broken in the way that like many modern blockbusters are not broken, where you have the opposite problem. Like I will shout out, Edwards is like, I think, a pretty good director, even if he's not a great storyteller. He has a wonderful eye for like scale and spectacle. He is maybe the only director aside from Spielberg who manages to capture wonder in the way that Spielberg does. He does this very blatantly by ripping off Spielberg, where the opening action sequence of this movie is like very obviously doing Jaws, doing Godzilla -1, which was also doing Jaws, which is Edwards basically doing Edwards over Spielberg. And they very blatantly do the sequence where they see like the brontosaurs in the original Jurassic Park, where everybody just stares open-mouthed at a dinosaur. But it's like, yeah, that works. The reason why you do that is because it works. And Edwards, to his credit, he has like some really clever visual compositions, but you run into the same problem that Koepp had when he was making this movie, where it's very clear that like Edwards has ideas, but he also had no time. So like he has 3 good ideas for shots and he just uses them again and again and again. And it's like the first time you see it, you're like, that is incredible. The second time you see that's really good. The third time you see like, you got anything else in your pocket there, Edwards? We're like, take a drink every time a character pulls another character from off screen and reveals that they are in the mouth of a dinosaur, which is a really good trick the first time they do it and becomes less impressive every subsequent time. Take another drink every moment like a dinosaur appears as part of the background, where it's revealed that they were in the background all along, but they start moving and you clock that they're there, which is, again, a very clever shot. But if you do it like 5 or 6 times, it becomes like, have you got anything else to kind of show us there? Like, I think...
Please, sir, do you have any more cinematography?
And like, it is unforgivable for a movie that is like 2 hours and 15 minutes long, that like, because it is very obviously like created on the fly, it takes them forever to get to the freaking island. They spend forever on the boat set because the boat set is cheap, and the boat set they can shoot in a couple of days, and the boat set is where they can do, if they need to retroactively like do reshoots, they can keep the boat set and just like add reshoot material on the boat set. It is very obviously a movie that like is held together with glue and goodwill, but at the same time, like, it's also a movie made by people who know how to make movies. It's very strange. Not great. Would not recommend, but if you like movies with big dinosaurs, you have sat through worse movies with big dinosaurs.
What a critique, Darren.
That should be on the poster. That's just, if you like movies with big dinosaurs, you sat through big dinosaurs.
It's not
At
a
least
good
we got
movie.
air conditioning.
Everybody who's making it knows what they're doing. Doesn't that make it worse?
But as somebody who like has sat through like movies that spend far greater amounts of money and have had far greater like luxuries in terms of timing and schedule, but can't do those basic things right, I'm like, I kind of wish that they had like 6 more months on this, and it might be like competent is maybe unfair, but it might be like a decent movie.
Sure.
Like, the fact that it stays on the rails at all is remarkable. It's one of those movies where like the fact that it's kind of like the Solo, the Ron Howard Solo, where like that is not a good movie, but the magic trick of that movie is knowing that it should be so much worse.
That it exists whatsoever.
Yeah, that it like is at all coherent, that you can follow it, that like it has like an arc of some kind or description. And I will say, like, I am probably more forgiving of Jurassic World because like this is the thing that allows Universal to like next year go, well, you can have a Nolan movie and a Spielberg movie and a Jordan Peele movie. And I'm like, if this is what allows you to like build up the bank balance so that you can give those directors money, I'm willing to tolerate that to a certain extent. You know, I'm not going to get
dinosaur
outraged.
movie if we get an Odyssey. That's fine.
That's it. Like, it's a fair trade. Like, Universal should like have that in the trailers. It's like, you guys want the Odyssey next year, you gotta go see this.
Yeah.
We're now releasing movies, one for us and one for you. This is the one for us.
You are basically like buying. You are putting a down payment on the Odyssey if you go see Jurassic World. Yeah.
Well, they're putting the trailer in front of it. Apparently, like, they didn't show. I had harsh words with the Universal representative afterwards. They didn't play the Odyssey teaser before the press screen. I was very disappointed. I know. It was so exciting because like we got 3 trailers to show you, or 3 movies we're very excited about. First is Gabby's Dollhouse. I'm like, okay, miss. Second is Bad Guys 2. I'm like, miss. Okay, but the third one's got to be. It's like, third one is Wicked for Good. And I'm like, damn it. Damn it.
Post credits Odyssey, baby.
It'd be incredible if they were all part of the shared universe. If like the post credit scene is just like the Velociraptor, and then Matt Damon kills it with a sword.
Yeah.
I will say, just what else I watched this week? Mathregan 2.0, which is obviously in theaters. Not great. Not great, unfortunately. I am quite fond of the first Megan movie. I rewatched it before I watched this one just to make sure that it wasn't just of the moment. Like, the first Megan movie is actually like good. It's a PG-13 horror. It's a great kids' first horror movie. It's a horror movie you can show a kid that's like, here's how horror movies work. Here's one you can watch that doesn't have too much blood or too much gore in it, and you can enjoy it. And like, it is actually like the first one is about things. It has things to say about like parenting, and things to say about adults, and things to say about like our relationships with our kids, particularly like in the pandemic era where we just put a screen in front of them, and like what happens when we ask computers to raise our kids for us. And like, that's a very clever idea, and the concept is very good, and like the Megan character is interesting and mimetic. The second movie is more meme than movie, which is slightly frustrating, and like, I'm so frustrated because it starts out strong enough where it's like, it's ripping off James Cameron's Terminator 2, and it's like, look, you know what? I would like if you were original, but if you're going to rip off a movie, James Cameron's Terminator 2, maybe the best blockbuster ever made. And I'm like, okay, I will tolerate that. But then it gets into the third act and it starts having ideas of its own. And those ideas are like very strange. Those ideas are like, it's a movie about like evil AIs. And the third act twist, without getting too into spoilers, is like, it's very Tom Cruise in The Final Reckoning code, where it's like, look, we all know that AI is evil and probably going to destroy the world. But in the right hands, maybe we can trust major Hollywood studios to use AI responsibly. And maybe the people who are getting worried about AI, maybe they're the real villains here. It is such a surreal twist for the movie to take when it's like at least lining up, not necessarily like a home run. I don't know what's field goal. Is a field goal worse than a home run? I'm missing up my analogies here. But it's like, it's setting up a layup rather than a 3-point shot. And it somehow manages to fumble that at the closing line, Darren says, messing up his sports analogy. Yeah, I was very disappointed with Mathregan 2.0.
You know a lot more about horses than you know about sports.
I mean, horses are sports. Thank you very much.
Oh, my apologies.
Think about that. Think about what you
just
said.
I'm not going to be able to sleep at night and be like, are horses sports?
And then I watched like Hitchcock's Dial M for Murder in 3D, just because I'm like, I managed
3D? Was that was that a 3D movie originally?
Yeah, it was originally a 3D movie. Like, it's so fascinating because it's from the 1950s. Hitchcock's joke about like Dial M for Murder is that like it was a 9-day fad and I arrived on the 9th day, where the movie like massively underperformed even though he shot it in 3D. And it's so fascinating because it's a very early version of that thing that happened with like the recent 3D boom, which is like, what happens when you give an actual artist like a gimmick and ask them to play with it? Where if you remember the 3D boom after Avatar, like so much of it was so bad. A lot of the post-conversion stuff was bad. I thought Gravity is a post-conversion. It's great, to be clear. But I'm thinking like a lot of the superhero movies that were post-converted were bad. A lot of the, Clash of the Titans was awful. You could barely see what was going on in it. But every once in a while you get like a proper 3D movie from like a filmmaker who knows how to compose an image. So like I'm thinking of Spielberg's Tintin, Scorsese's Hugo, Cuarón's Gravity, for example. Even like Ridley Scott's Prometheus. Like whatever you think of the movie, that use of 3D is incredible. And like Hitchcock's Dial M for Murder is fascinating because like this is maybe the best shot composer in the history of cinema being given the gimmick of 3D, and instead of doing what you would expect him to do, which is pointy thing go in face, what Hitchcock decides to do is to adapt a stage play, a beloved stage play, casting many of the same actors, and to use the 3D to create the impression that you are watching a stage play at home, where he is much more interested in depth within the screen than he is in objects coming out. And it is a remarkable effect because he is constantly like slowly and subtly moving the camera so that like a lamp will appear in the foreground and come out to give you a sense of depth, where it is so much more like careful and considered than 3D in the 2010s was even, but particularly by the standards of like 1950s 3D I've seen. It's very good. I would recommend it. If you get a chance to see it in 3D, I would wholeheartedly recommend it. Any Hitchcock movie is generally good. Shock horror, Hitchcock, pretty good director, Darren says.
Was it like an anniversary screening, or what was the deal? Because like Jaws turned 50.
Jaws turned 50 this year. Spielberg, I love that Spielberg's like, I watched it alone, thought it was very good, and I'm like, nice.
Yeah.
Was that like the New York Times poll where like actors were like quietly listing their own movies?
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there. I was in one of the best movies of the 21st century.
Listen, you can judge your own work, not to toot your own horn, but yeah.
But Spielberg being like, I watched Jaws by myself for its 50th anniversary. Pretty good movie. Movie. Some might say the best movie. I'm not going to say that. Not my place to say. Pretty good movie,
though. I think we can all agree. Pretty good movie.
Pretty good movie.
Did you watch anything else?
Just trying to think in terms of stuff I can actually talk about. War of the Roses we talked about. I watched on a bunch of Danny Boyle movies. So like had a rewatched Trance, which I mentioned there, which is like a movie that it feels like the floppy dong is in conversation with. Have you guys seen Trance?
I've never seen Trance. No.
Okay. Are you aware of?
Should Jack see it as a historian of floppy dong?
No, it's got the opposite of floppy dong.
Oh.
It's very infamously has like a shot of Danny Boyle's then girlfriend Rosario Dawson completely naked in front of the camera, like presented naked to the camera, in a way that is very strange and completely unnecessary in terms of the. And it just very much seems like Danny Boyle being, by the way, this is my girlfriend. How we doing? And it's so strange. And like every time that like the floppy dong appeared on screen in 28 years later, I'm like, Danny Boyle is paying it back with interest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Danny Boyle has heard what the internet said about that choice of that iconic shot in Trance. Trance, by the way, I really like Trance. It is a deeply, deeply, deeply stupid film. It is a movie about, it's a hypnosis thriller. It's a modern film noir. Yeah, no, what was there was a Ben Affleck one that was directed by Robert Rodriguez recently as well. I think it may literally have been called Hypnosis. I can't remember the name of it.
Or Hypnotic or
Hypnotic
or something. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's Trance is like, imagine that, but like made by like a really good director and actually with a script and actually with a budget, where it's about like an art heist that goes horribly wrong. And the guy involved with it forgets where he hid the piece that he stole. So they have to go to a hypnotherapist to help him recover the memory of where he stole it from. It is very silly. It's very silly. It's very fun. It is like a modern film noir. And it is a modern film noir in the sense that like a lot of those 1950s ones were, which is that it is built around an insane premise that builds to a completely illogical and irrational twist that is in no way foreshadowed within the narrative itself. But if you follow it to its conclusion, it is like a very deep, profound story about like guilt and responsibility and the things that we choose to forget or whatever. But also it's got like, you know, a hot lady who causes bad things to happen in it too. Nice. I had a good time with Trance. I really did. Millions is pretty good. That's his like really the movie he made between his Garland movies about setting an alternate like Britain that's about to embrace the Euro, which is Danny Boyle making a kids movie. It is fine. I rewatched T2 Trainspotting, and I just want to shout that out because that is surprisingly good Lego sequel. That's from 2017, which is the same year that gave us. So it gave us Logan, it gave us The Last Jedi, it gave us Blade Runner 2049, it gave us Twin Peaks: The Return on television. Like it was a moment. That's it. It was a moment where it felt like we were 2 years out from like The Force Awakens and like Creed and stuff, and we were like, okay, we are going to go back to the well of these old properties. But can we use them to say something interesting and say something profound about like the state of the world in which we live? Where I think like, you know, without getting into like starting the Last Jedi Wars, but like Twin Peaks: The Return is about like growing old and what it means to confront the past. And like Blade Runner 2049 is about the idea of what it means to live in this world that you've inherited and what it means to have memories and how memories ground us in the world around us. Logan is about the mythologies that we fashion in order to like justify us moving forward with our lives and stuff. And T2 Trainspotting is very much like, it is a very interesting companion piece to 28 years later, because it is also about that, where it's Trainspotting, but they replace the heroine with nostalgia, where it's about these 40-something-year-old men who, in the words of the character played by Johnny Lee Miller, like are tourists in their own youth. These men who are so frustrated with how their lives have turned out that they retreat into like a recreated adolescence in order to like find some purpose or some meaning in a world that seems to be moving past them. It is a movie that is like very much in conversation with like Britain's relationship with Europe, much like I think that 28 years later is. And I think it makes a very fitting companion piece. And I will say the is one of my favorite closing images of any movie, and like one of the most profound statements about where we are as a culture, which is just like Ewan McGregor in his childhood bedroom as Lust for Life plays, as like the bedroom stretches back towards eternity.
Yeah.
You're living in a 40-year-old man's childhood bedroom forever and ever and ever and ever. Wonderful. And then just to shout out, I rewatched Alex Garland's Men, because I like Alex. Shockingly, Darren says. And Men is a movie that I kind of struggle with, because it's Garland being his most opaque, his most abstract, his most like literary in some senses as well. A movie that refuses to explain itself. Is very abstract in its storytelling. It is perhaps the most A24 horror movie that has ever A24. But I think it's incredible. And it is, again, a lot of this is the thing about like how much I love 28 years later, is like it made me go back and go, I'm just going to grab like a handful of movies from the people who made this, and I'm going to go back and I want to see where this came from. I want to like pull it out and understand how these two guys ended up doing this thing together. And like Men is weirdly to me very much of a piece with 28 years later, because it's another folk horror story about masculinity, where like a large part of like 28 years later we kind of touched on is this idea of like Spike being taught by his father how to kill, and Spike being taught by his father you don't talk about death and you don't confront death and you don't deal with death, but you do kill because a real man kills. And men is very obviously, and it's again, subtlety is for cowards, kind of visual metaphor. But you have this image of like the dandelions and the spores that flow throughout the film, where it's like this masculinity is literally just in the air. This infectious, corrosive, inescapable force is absolutely everywhere, and it kind of permeates the British countryside. And you've got a lot of the recycled imagery. You've got again another floppy dong. You've got another like chase sequence through the British countryside. You've got another sequence of like a deer being like dismembered and consumed and stuff like that. It is like very much a source text, I think, for Garland going into it, and I'd be very surprised if Boyle didn't watch Men and have some thoughts on it as well. So yeah, those I watched. Those are the things I can talk about that I watched. Yes,
I like that Alex Garland, I think after Civil War, was like, I think I'm done making movies, but also I co-directed Warfare, and also I wrote 3 20 Days Later movie. Also, I'm making Elden Ring. But I'm done making movies. I'm not doing them anymore.
like my hero Steven Soderbergh, I am completely retired.
Yeah. Listen, that's what Quentin Tarantino should be like. He should keep saying, "I'm only making 10 movies" while he's on his like 15th movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, like that's what he is doing. Like he's like, I've written a script for like a sequel to like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm not directing it though. Fincher can have that one. Like, Fincher, how long do you reckon it is before he pawns off like Kill Beatrix onto like I don't know who would direct that? Like Eli Roth?
Don't bring that. What are you coming off the heels of Borderlands? Why did you say that? The podcast was so nice until you said that.
Well, okay, Robert Rodriguez is killing like that's it. I would kind of like
the heels of Hypnotic, which we're still not sure was the name of that movie.
Robert Rodriguez has directed like 20 movies since then.
Sure. Oh yeah, he's fine. Yeah.
And an entire season of a Star Wars TV show, probably.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm trying to think who would be like, because it would be a funny bit if like he just kept like hiring A-list directors to direct his hand.
Someone else makes the Vega Brothers.
Yeah.
And,
if he was like Scorsese is going to direct Killing Beatrix.
Yeah.
Because it's like the weird chain effect where it's like Fincher is directing Squid Games, the American version, and the Twice Upon a Time in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. But also Aaron Sorkin is directing the sequel to The Social Network.
What is happening? Why can't everyone just be normal for a little bit?
Everyone
give me like 1 week of normality.
There should be like, and now like, I don't know, Luc Besson is directing fucking the West Wing reboot or something like that. It should continue to be like a hand-me-down chain of effect where it's like the least likely person ends up like stepping into the gap.
Yes,
I will take the ring,
and it all starts and ends with Soderbergh, just because he's anywhere and everything. Yeah.
He's currently making a movie right now. We just don't know it.
Two of the best movies of the year.
Legitimately, Black Bag and Presents, great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A couple more super chats before we wrap up for the day. Beast March with a $2 dono. Thank you so much. Jack's reaction to Andor was epic. Listen, I don't want you to watch Star Wars. I just wanted to point out the little flaw in your logic there.
Yeah, no. It's okay to point out my own hypocrisy.
Yeah, there you go. We own our own hypocrisies.
Can I ask? Like, I realize we shouldn't dwell on this, but like this, you're personally choosing not to watch Star Wars. Is that purely a streaming thing, or will it carry over to The Mandalorian and Grogu next year?
It would be so funny if you went to see Mandalorian.
Yeah. Having not seen it.
No.
I have some questions. Who is Mandalorian? And second question, who or what is a Grogu?
Who's Grogu? No Star Wars. Nothing. Is the plan?
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
Will you see Spaceballs too?
Of course I'll see Spaceballs too. That's not a Star Wars.
No, it's.
But you might not get all the references, Jack.
Good. Then I will be happier.
Why are they combing the desert with a comb? I don't get it.
Why is Tuvok
from Ahsoka?
Tuvok was in Star Trek, not Star Wars. Oh wait, Tuvok was,
and that was made several years later.
I like the idea that Spaceballs 2 is going to have references to like Skeleton Crew and Ahsoka and like a deep cut Rise of Skywalker reference.
I mean, the best thing about like Spaceballs is that it's very obvious Mel Brooks does not give two flying fucks about Star Wars.
He's like, here's like
it is
5 things that are iconic from the movie, and we'll just work from there. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think like the story he tells is like he took his kids to see Star Wars. Like, why didn't you make a movie like that, Dad? And he's like, fine, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously like he cares about like Robin Hood, and he cares about like silent movies, and he cares about Hitchcock movies, and he cares about Frankenstein, classic Universal horror movies. He cares about westerns, but it's very like when you get to like Spaceballs is so much about like the parody of the idea of Star Wars as a cultural institution that is less interested in actual Star Wars.
Yeah,
where it's like so many of the jokes in that are just about the merchandise, which is why I think Spaceballs is arguably funnier now than it was on like initial releases, because those merchandising jokes just
they've aged like a fine wine. Yeah.
Yes.
Dan, thank you so much. Upgrade your membership to the value tier. Appreciate you, Dan. BS Molly 11, thank you so much for a $20 dono. Have y'all seen Death of Yugoslavia? Best doc of all time, masterwork of sourcing, story about the collapse with real world style cutaways to Milosevic and crew, equivalent of a BBC filming about Hitler in the bunker in 1945. No, I didn't even know this was a thing.
Oh, all right, add that to the list.
I've never heard of this. This sounds amazing though.
I have not. I'm sadly underinformed when it comes to Eastern European film. I think I've seen, was it the Time of the Gypsies? I think is my primary like Eastern European early 90s film reference. Interesting.
This is a 6-episode miniseries.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
We're learning. Appreciate the reco. Zararthur, thank you so much for a dono. Don't look at me. I'm just here for the puns. Zararthur, stop encouraging them. Do we have to put up a sign?
We got it out of our system. It's all right.
No, you didn't.
Make it sound so punishing, Marty.
Darren is insatiable. He's a bottomless well. He will never be full. And then Paul with a $5 dono. Thank you so much, Paul.
Don't be giving the puns out. Like that's not how like wells work, Marty.
I don't know how wells work. I have a faucet. I literally have a well. I literally have a well that I need to call a category. Paul with a $5 dono. Thank you so much. Don't be distracted by the what ifs, should haves, and if onlys. There is only one way of D's nut. Have a good day, Yaya.
Bill Mateen, the second.
How do you pronounce Jaja?
Oh,
yeah.
Right, Jaja. Was this a reference to something? Was this like this was a Red Letter Media or an Irish thing?
I have no idea.
If I don't understand something, I assume it's either Irish or Red
one
Letter
of these
Media.
two.
It's got to be one of those two.
I have no idea. So it could be. I don't know all of them.
It's a Spanish laugh. Eric is in the chat there. It's a Spanish laugh. Apologies. Oh, haha. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Phonetically, I get it. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I said Yaya Abdul Mahin. Who's great.
No. Yeah.
Remember him as Mantis? He was great as Mantis.
Manta.
Oh, Mantis is the Marvel character.
Yeah, I feel like I'm Ben Stiller in Zoolander. Manta. He was very good in Watchmen. Speaking of floppy dong theory,
he was amazing in Watchmen. Yeah, great floppy dong. And then Pure Pyro with a €2 dono. Thoughts on World War Z, loosely based on the book.
One of the great books.
Never read the book. I thought the movie was kind of bad, personally.
Yeah. A great example of a movie that literally ran out of money. Like, it is a movie that I think of when I think about like the modern like problem with producing a movie with an unfinished script, where they very literally ran out. They had 2/3 of a movie, didn't know how it was going to end, then realized that they were going to lose Brad Pitt, and they're like, okay, it ends in a hospital in Edinburgh with Peter Capaldi as Who Doctor, because he played Doctor Who soon, and I guess that'll be a satisfying ending. We're all very, very happy. It's an abidingly, at best, I think it's an average film. The book is incredible. If you haven't read the book is wonderful. It's told in a series like short story type vignettes. That's basically like snapshots of the zombie apocalypse from around the world, from like the first patient to how it affects different countries to like, again, roads to recovery and like little ideas. Again, very clever ideas. Speaking of, like, it is written by Max Brooks, who is obviously the son of Mel.
Oh yeah.
Bring a full circle there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Also, we got to the bottom of Paul's ref. Paul was directly referencing an anime I am currently watching, and it went straight over my head.
Oh, so it was you were tossing the blame to Darren and I when it was a you reference,
I
Marty.
tried to blame Ireland, and I tried to
Yeah.
play blame Red Letter Media, but as
Yeah.
always, anime was the culprit.
What is it?
It's a reference to Gurren Lagann, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, which is the Neon Genesis Evangelion studio made another mecha anime like 10 years later, or like around 2000 late aughts. And I'm almost done watching it, and it is it feels like almost it's like what if we made Neon Genesis Evangelion, but this suicidal guy wasn't in charge of it. What if we brought some people who are actually having a good time at work to make this? So yeah, that's what it feels
Sounds like Rebuild of Evangelion is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh no, I've gotten over it, guys. It's fine.
Yeah. Like one of the great endings is like, you know what? I'm married now. I'm happy. Like it's watching a movie. It is rare to have that feeling of like I'm really glad that director got it together. Like it's
yeah.
It seems like he's in a good place.
And then Sussy Guru with a €5 dono. Thank you so much. Manta Manta was a German car movie starring Til Schweiger.
Ah,
there you go.
Love
Shout out to Til Schweiger, who have only seen Inglourious Bastards.
He did a couple of Uwe Boll films as well.
Oh yeah, he was the lead in Far Cry. That's right.
Yeah,
he's the main character in Uwe Boll's Far Cry. Yeah.
Who could forget that? Who could forget that?
I did until this moment. So there you go. And that will do it for us for this week's episode of The Rewind. Jack, what you folks check out in your neck of the wood?
I will be back on Thursday streaming something. I don't know what. For you video game heads there. Just this morning, I got. I have the worst idea to stream something. There is a video game that I just started playing this morning called Deadeye Deepfake Simulacrum, which will be the worst game to stream ever. But I'm kind of getting into it, so I might.
We talked about that yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's right.
Can we explain the concept of this?
The concept is mostly like you are breaking into places and hacking computers, but the visual representation of that is mostly different windows with a lot of text and involves a lot of typing. Oh, Eric is showing right now.
Yeah, I can see it there. It looks really cool.
It is not a. It is really cool while you are playing it. I don't know if it is a good visual game to stream, but it's what I'm playing right now. Either that or I also started the Turbo Kid video game. Turbo Kid, which if you haven't seen the Turbo Kid movie, watch that. They made a Metroidvania side-scrolling Turbo Kid video game, which is pretty fun. So I'll be back on Thursday. The season 4 finale of Adventures Nigh is not this Saturday, but theoretically next Saturday. We might have to push it back, but theoretically next Saturday. So
theoretically Saturday, July 12th.
Correct.
TBD.
Oh, it's exciting.
TBD. Very exciting. Yeah. And Darren, we mentioned obviously the excellent 28 Years Later video that you and Jesse put together. Anything else people should know about?
Yeah, the columns that I do every Friday and Monday. So like last week, I think I talked about Poker Face, talked about F1, and like Joe Kaczynski, the one person in the world who's talking about Joe Kaczynski auteur. But I also this week coming up, I'll be talking about Ironheart, which is wrapping its season this week. I should maybe have talked about having seen that. It is fine. It is another, like, it's a meeting that should have been a memo. It is like another 2-hour movie that has been stretched out to fill 6 hours of quote unquote content. But yeah, I'll be writing about that at the weekend. I'll probably also be writing about the second season of Sandman coming on Netflix, which is very quiet for very obvious reasons, and is also the last season of the show for not the reasons you would think. The creators are swearing at the moment, but we'll see how that goes. So that'll be up then over the weekend. Yeah, that's it. That's right.
Excellent. And then, on the channel itself, you could find all sorts of good stuff aside from the backdrop. Design Delve, a new episode of Design Delve, I believe, is going up in 30 minutes. Ooh. So take a look at that.
Yes, we swapped this week.
Yes, did a little swapsies because of an ad on Jay's front. And then, Yassi's still on holiday. There will be a fully Ramblematic tomorrow that is centered around the Summer Game Drought vote. So that should be up at the normal time. Eric edited that one. And then no Yahtzee tries in that slot. Ooh, maybe you and Jess, because I think Jay was saying that they might need to do that thing on Thursday. We'll figure out.
We might. There might be some streaming swapping shenanigans.
Yeah,
this week,
like you and Jess maybe you'll stream tomorrow with work. We'll figure that out. We'll figure that out. Yeah, normal stuff all week. So tune in for all that. Excellent. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone who tuned in live. Everyone watch on their or listen on their podcast service of choice, and especially all those folks who donate super chats and are members of our Patreon. We appreciate each and every one of you.
It's true.
So for Jack, for Darren, for Eric, this was Marty. This was the Rewind episode number 24. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Does that mean next week's our 1 year anniversary?
25.
Oh no, it's the week after.
Oh yeah, but we've probably done like a little skippy, right? We had to have done a skippy at some point.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because we moved the week forward.
That's right.
We'll figure it out.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, great.